Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. Well, it's been a whole 2 episodes since we talked about professional wrestling, so here we are once again asking you to bear with us as we step into the squared circle to preview WWE's upcoming event. Who will walk, limp, or crawl out with a shot at the title? Will we have a new champion crowned? What sort of surprises await us? We answer all of these questions, probably in the most wrong but hilarious way possible, in this episode 169. Nice. Money in the Bank preview. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who has yet to cash in his shot at the Lilac Lane 24/7 championship for the past 20 years because he fears another backyard rock bottom from Le Champion. He has been my partner in idiocy for over 2 decades and is a real bump machine. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, sir. How's your lower back?
It is still pulsating, palpitating, and spazzing out. So it's all good in the hood. But I do have to. When you said Lilac Lane, I'm thinking to myself, that is the one thing. Like we had the Christmas tree with the beer cans on it. Why did we not? Because we were dedicated watchers of Monday Night Raw, and how did we not somehow come up with our own version of the hardcore 24/7 championship?
Probably because we would have put one of us through a wall or the floor into the apartment below us.
I mean,
that place was built out of toothpicks.
All we needed to do was get like a Levi sort of leather belt. We could have basically bolted on or nailed on a couple of beer cans in the form of an X or something like that. I mean, it would have been beautiful.
How did we ever find women to date us is my question, really. And the question of all our viewers and listeners, really.
I do think we do clean up well.
You're charming in our own way.
We are.
We have wonderful personalities.
We are. They are on display on this show consistently and constantly. So, yes.
Oh, how are you doing, sir? It's been one hell of a month this week for you so far.
Yeah. It's been one hell of a month yesterday. It was. Hey.
It's 2 days into the weekend. You're all ready to cash out for the weekend.
God.
Well, speaking of that, you must be. I mean, you got a 4-day weekend coming up, so you just got to make it through tomorrow.
I do. I might even not work a full day tomorrow.
Oh, you do it, sir. You do it.
I think I might. I'm planning to. So for our listeners, planning to make a journey back to New England over this weekend to visit some.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And gonna do that. And so tomorrow evening, gonna enjoy a nice dinner with the missus.
Let me guess. Yep. Steak and a bourbon.
Probably. Might be deviled eggs involved, and
of course.
A cheesecake to wrap it all up. So
I'm just waiting for one day to get a picture of you after you've had enough bourbons that you reorder the deviled eggs, and I see one stuck on either side of your head like this, like eyes on top of Kermit.
Basically. Hello. I will say Friday we were just to give a little Adele's update here. Friday we were supposed to go. My poor wife has, she has some recurring back issues, had a back issue Friday night. So we ended up not going out, but like the El Champion that I am, I went out, on my own to, Adele's by myself.
I love that. You left your poor wife home with back spasms.
Well,
and you went out to eat.
Here's what
I
did.
Wow, you are just a romantic.
Not to eat. Ordered. Basically you can order from their menu to go, and so ordered up what we had decided on, and sat at the bar, talked with Herman, the bartender, about
3 or 4 bourbons later. Got on the scooter, weaving home.
So here's the funny part: they're going in. They're doing a renovation to the to parts of the restaurant over the next 2 weeks. So the restaurant is shut down basically now for the next 2 weeks. They're doing renovations. So they also had to kind of like, clean up and kind of get the bar area all like, prepared for this. And so it was wonderful. I had a Penelope Architect double neat. And then as it was just getting a little bit low, Debbie, the owner, comes by, grabs my glass, goes back, she looks what on the register what I got, grabs the bottle of Penelope Architect, fills me up again, just comps me for it. It was wonderful. But here's what she said. She's like, I'm basically trying to drain the bottle so we don't have to pack it away. Like, so they're basically, and Herman's there like, he's also just like, drink, please drink. It's less that I have to pack over the weekend.
You're like, bring me a straw.
And well, actually, I then said, are you volunteering any of these bottles to be taken home? Because I will take them off your hands if you so desire.
Turning the place into his own personal ASPCA, like
basically.
In the arms of an angel.
But I did, order our food, brought it back to my wife. We enjoyed a nice evening at home watching Star Trek Discovery. We're almost through season 1. And just had a wonderful meal and a little bit of, and then the other part is, so I didn't get this, I think, when you were out, but they have this like, did we get dessert when you were out or no? I don't remember.
No, we were both so stuffed.
We were both stuffed. They have this amazing strawberry cake. And like when it first came back on the menu, when I would get it, it was kind of like a thin, long slice. Mm-hmm. When I ordered it this time, and again, maybe they're doing
like
it
half a cake.
Dude, they gave me a monster slice. It was phenomenal. I'm just like, I am in heaven. This is amazing. So, man, they
Good
called
thing your doctors don't listen. Your team of doctors don't listen to these episodes.
Hey, my cholesterol is wonderful. So it is
wonderful.
It is all part of the plan.
It's wonderful in the way that they like, we wonder how this dude is still with us.
Can you please sign these waivers? We'd like to study you.
It says here your blood type is Philadelphia cream cheese.
Also known as the PCC. Oh, my gosh.
Someday, sir, you are going to be in a textbook.
Yes, I will, and not for the right reasons.
Well, same with me, really. Yeah.
Oh, my God. So,
anyways,
yes.
We are going to preview 2024's Money in the Bank, which, as you know, I mean, we're in the Paul Levesque era, correct? You understand the Paul Levesque era has begun.
I know we are in the PLE era, the PLE. You know what? It's a shame that we don't have more of a budget on this show, that we can have the running around spy guys like they do for the Money in the Bank. When Michael Cole's introducing the matches and you see them running back. I think that is a phenomenal marketing that they need to keep using here, because I think it's a nice representation of what Money in the Bank is. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what Money in the Bank is, to our listeners, it is an event where both the men and women have 6 individuals who compete in a ladder match to grab a briefcase that, once gotten, grants the possessor an immediate title shot at any point in time when it is so cashed in. And the last famous cash in of this was Damian Priest at WrestleMania, after Drew McIntyre teased the bejesus out of CM Punk, and Punk waylaid him with his tricep arm thing that kept his arm straight, but he didn't need it anymore, and he waffled him good.
Called a brace, I believe.
Well, thank you for helping me with that. But yes, so yeah, Damian Priest, world champion, because of a lot of famous Money in the Bank cash-ins, a lot of famous ones.
Well, I mean, honestly, we got 2 of them in the main event. You got, because Seth Rollins, wasn't that one of his? He cashed in at WrestleMania, didn't he?
The actual final main event. This is before it was a 2-night event. When it was Lesnar versus Reigns. Yeah, he cashed in, made it a triple threat. And took advantage of a Lesnar F5, did the curb stomp to Reigns, and became world champion for the first time at the event. And that was actually covered by ESPN, believe it or not. That was kind of when.
Serious?
Yeah, like on the ESPN website, they were. I'm trying to remember. Like, they were starting to go into. They were starting to expand the website to cover, WWE a little bit more than normal. And I think this was kind of they recognize this as kind of a watershed event, that happened at WrestleMania with him cashing in. Like no one had ever cashed in the way that he did at a WrestleMania main event. Like that's what made it special. And so Seth Rollins, a practitioner of the briefcase,
and Damian Priest was Senior Money in the Bank.
That's right. He was Senior Money in the Bank, and now
damn near a year.
And now he is El Campeón.
Yeah,
so
hey, it works. It works in some
does.
cases, and unless you're one of those other folks.
Yes.
But anyways, before we get into that, we've got a few bits and baubles of things that not quite worthy of an episode. A little something we like to call the Week in Geek.
It's right here.
Oh, we got the music. Woo!
Feels so funky.
All right, so when I say that the man they call Tim had a hell of a month this week, I'm not kidding, folks. So I tried to help out a little bit with the Week in Geek. This is normally Tim's part of the show. So
thank you, sir.
I try to drop in a couple of items here. So the first one is
I almost bailed on this recording, ladies and gentlemen. I mentally am just shot. So bear with me. I'm going to probably babble some nonsensical, and every so often I might just in Robin Williams fashion just be talking, and all of a sudden, no, like that, just have those reactions.
How's anyone going to know the difference? That's our shtick.
No, fair enough. I'm sorry, sir, but I interrupted you.
Our first item, because I after listening to Tim for a few years, I picked up a few things from our good friends at ScreenRant.com.
Oh, yeah, making me a little money. Thank you.
No, this isn't part of your affiliate program. I started my own.
Oh, come on.
Courtesy of Ollie Bradley, which is an AI-generated author, if I've ever heard one. This is entitled, Kevin Feige responds to questions about MCU X-Men movie.
Okay.
And by responding, basically says a whole lot of nothing. So Deadpool and Wolverine is coming up, of course, at the end of July. And we're now getting at least a couple. Well, we're getting one. I mean, hell, we got Wolvie coming here from the 20th Century Fox X-Men franchise. Who knows what else is going to be happening there? But what the crap was that? Is that you or me?
What? I just
heard
took
it. No, I heard a noise. Okay, that's probably like one of the 8,000 ads on Screen Rant's website. Don't mind me. So it seems part of this is that while trailers and set photos have confirmed that several actors from the late franchise will be reprising their roles, the upcoming movie is still supposedly teeming with closely guarded secrets. It seems this secrecy extends beyond Deadpool and Wolverine, as when we asked about the reported Marvel Studios X-Men movie by Entertainment Weekly, Kevin Feige refused to comment beyond stating, July 26 is really when it all starts, when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out. So in other words, he responded by saying a whole lot of nothing.
Or, like our good friend Apollo Creed in Rocky 3, he was basically saying, ding, ding.
I think it's more like Bill Belichick, like, we're on to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, probably.
And that's just it. Like that to me, this feels like Belichickian stonewalling of like, we're on to Deadpool and Wolverine. Hey, Kevin, what do you think about we're on to Deadpool and Wolverine? Whoever's in the movie is in the movie. It's like
when's WandaVision season 2 coming up? We're on to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Exactly. So apparently there might be more coming later this month. And because we are in July now. The San Diego Comic-Con, sir, is coming up July 25th through the 28th, which means...
And no one told me?
It's right there as Deadpool and Wolverine is released, so it's perfect timing for them to then be like, and here's all of this stuff. Yeah, and basically, I was about to go into a Kevin Smith and Fat Man Beyond, like, laying the down, but we won't do that.
Yeah, candy. Never mind.
Well, yeah, it's something else. But
yeah.
Anyways, so a whole lot more information coming. But right now, Feige, responding by not responding. So, in much the same way we keep coming back to the BSG reboot. Here's your non-news.
Has Feige been hanging out with Sam Esmail? Is there some sort of
God? I hope not.
There.
Although, I mean,
crying out loud.
are we sure that Eternals wasn't some sort of Ponzi scheme gone awry? I'm just saying.
Good
I'm
Lord.
just saying.
I know.
All right, sir. I believe you've got the next one here.
Yes, from fandomwire.com. All that is
kind of a new one.
All that is good and proper in the sci-fi universe. Also, they have a very nice 8-bit looking banner here that I enjoy. So
This is a new addition to your affiliate portfolio.
To my you know what? I'm going to go with that. My portfolio. Yes. Controversial Avengers Endgame theory claiming Doctor Strange killed Tony Stark to stop him from becoming a villain is absolutely bonkers. This is written. Oh, pardon me, because Uncle Todd, who has a running theory about the AI bots writing articles ad nauseam.
So many.
This was the name on this one, written by Hina.
That's sorry. What?
Hina. It's almost like a wrestler's name.
Okay.
Or almost like someone from the He-Man universe.
All right. So here's the thing. Like, unless you have been doing what you do for quite a while, and I have no idea who Hina is. Maybe they're a huge deal in the online community. There should be some. Don't you think there ought to be some sort of like time limit of before when you can start calling yourself with one name? Like, shouldn't you at least have to go through some sort of a period where you have to use your real name and then you can change it?
I would agree. I mean, you and I have gone through great pains to come up with names that are multi-word and multi-syllabic.
Yes, we've actually made our names more complicated.
Yes. The man they call Tim. I mean, can that get any more complicated? Uncle Todd, not so complicated.
It could. I mean, well, Uncle Todd is just so I can remember it. Do you actually know how Uncle Todd came about?
I figured it had to do with your Saxophy days, that you were dubbed Uncle by some young rapscallion who was trying to get into your good graces. And ladies and gentlemen, it is stuck all these years later.
It was because I was in college for so damn long. I went past the normal years.
Okay.
They had to invent a new name for me because I'd been around so long. And I was like, I think at one point I made a joke about I'm going to be that uncle that no one wants their kids to be around. They're like, Uncle Todd. And I'm like, sure, why not?
Oh my God.
Let's put it this way. I was in college long enough that when they hired a new marching band director, he had just graduated from grad school and there was only about a 2-year age difference.
Yeah.
And he insisted on people calling him Mr. And I'm like, all right, let's just face facts. There's no way I'm calling you Mr. We are almost the same age. I was like, how about I call you El Jefe? He's like, what's that mean? I'm like, it means the boss in Spanish. He's like, fine.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
I was like,
so
this is a
were you
good compromise.
Were you basically Matthew McConaughey's character in Dazed and Confused just in the college setting? Is that who you were?
Hopefully not as creepy, but I guess kind of.
All right.
It'd be cooler if you did. And actually, Matthew is going to be making a comeback in another thing later on. So nice foreshadowing, sir.
Hey, I had absolutely no idea. Look at this show just coming together. No prep, no anything. All cut and paste, baby. Here we go. All right. So, how did Doctor Strange...
Just get on with this before you get too impressed with yourself.
Doctor Strange destroy Iron Man. Did he see a villainous Tony Stark in the future and pull the ultimate power play? This is kind of the running theory here, and I don't know if I buy into it, but let's walk through this article. So the thesis of this is basically
that thesis. My goodness.
That basically, given Tony being the genius that he is also a reckless individual, which we have talked about in many ways. Especially the storyline in Civil War that was kind of started from Avengers, not Infinity War. What the hell was his name? Avengers 2, Ultron,
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. That it was really through his motivation and desire to create this sort of pseudo armor for the world to protect against whatever this threat that is coming, universal threat that is coming. But this what this argues is that Doctor Strange, and it's really basing it on recent content from like the Multiverse of Madness, which showed Strange in different multiverses making very cutthroat and ruthless choices for the greater good. You know, there was an alternate Strange who had killed the America Chavez character for her reality hopping powers. But the movie also showed something else interesting, that Earth 838 was so the variation of Earth 838 beat Thanos without Iron Man's sacrifice. So if you remember when he approaches the Illuminati, Professor X basically projects the memory of what ends up happening with Thanos, where they actually do kill him on Titan, which did not require the sacrifice. So this article is arguing that maybe there was a way for Thanos to be dispatched without Iron Man having to sacrifice himself, and that basically Doctor Strange, if you will, was leading the witness down the path of the only potential solution to the problem. But the question is, why would he do that? And the argument here is that if left, alive and continuing to evolve in his ways, and really kind of hearkening back to something that Thanos said to Stark, which was basically how they were both burdened with knowledge, that ultimately he would become more of a villain than a hero, in whatever it was he would do post Thanos. And so Strange, seeing all the various outcomes and potential ways that this conflict could end, basically narrowed it down to one. And we saw that iconic, moment where Tony looks over at him and he holds up the one finger to tell him, this is it. This is the one way this is going to happen.
Was that an acknowledge me moment, or no? I'm sorry, wrong.
You know what? Roman could have walked through the door too and said, cocked the fist and gone in for the Superman punch, baby, which is,
Thanos
we all
would have
know,
crushed him like a bug.
Uncle
And
Todd's
then, that is
favorite
the dumbest move of all time.
His favorite move of all time.
Only second to the triangle submission hold, where you can just fall your ass on top of the guy to break the hold.
Yep. So that's basically the argument, that Tony, left to his own devices for too long, would have ultimately come up with something that could endanger everyone and make him more of a villain than a hero. And that Strange, being able to see all the various outcomes, could have seen, we don't know. He potentially could have seen other outcomes, but chose to narrow in on the one, because every other outcome showed that Iron Man would ultimately go evil. And so in a way, he, kind of manipulated things to both end the Thanos threat, but also have Tony go out on a hero's note, which would not have otherwise happened if he had remained alive. What do you think about that theory, sir, and the reasoning behind it?
I think it's someone who just spent way too much time thinking about this crap, because
Get a life.
Exactly. I think that you have to understand, like, unless Doctor Strange is looking multiversally in that moment, he's looking through all of the possibilities of all the multiverses, then he's looking at all of the possibilities in that reality, in that part of the multiverse, in that Earth whatever reality. And in that case, like, that might be the one, because the dominoes have just fallen in that way. And in that other multiverse, things fell a different way. And part of that is because Doctor Strange was channeling dark magic. And guess what? They ended up having to, have what's-his-face there, tuning fork head, just like blast his brain into non-existence. So I think it's one of those things that, it sounds cool because now you've introduced all of this information that comes afterwards that probably was not even within the realm of thought when they're making Endgame. And you're going to retrofit it in there and then come up with this theory that ties it all together, when that's not really the thought. Now, I mean, hey, maybe Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty or whatever next Avengers movie comes up, and then that gets revealed. I could be totally wrong. I just happen to think that it's a little more cut and dry, and that at that point, you're still dealing with that reality, that universe, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, and that was a question I was going to ask you too.
I mean, you already had a big enough trip with time travel happening there. Like, do we also need to throw the multiverse in there as well? Like, that seems like, again, you're getting too cute. You're getting way too into the weeds.
Well, and you know, a couple factors that. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, which I thought was kind of interesting, is what exactly was Strange looking at when he was looking at all the 14 million whatever different outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that he was actually looking at the multiverse, because in theory,
No, I don't think he would, because I mean that's way too many possibilities, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is there is no multiverse at that point, because at that point in time in the timeline, right, we have the sacred timeline that has basically is one timeline.
True, yeah.
So Strange is looking at outcomes,
mm-hmm.
which I don't think translates into the multiverse, but I think what's interesting about this is he isn't beyond, you know, making kind of the hard call or the more controversial call to bring about a result, you know, that would benefit humanity. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think everything done in Endgame has its purpose, and I don't think there was any chicanery or tomfoolery by the good doctor against Tony, or shenanigans.
No ballyhoo.
Maybe a little ballyhoo.
Yeah,
but
he is a big fan. He is a fan of ballyhoo.
He is a fan of ballyhoo. I think he killed him because of you know, Iron Man sassing him when he first showed up at you know, the headquarters of Doctor Strange, and putting his hand on
sassing him.
putting his hand on the cauldron of the universe, or whatever the heck that was, when he smacked him with his cape. Remember when he was like doing like a hammy pull or something like that, and he's like, "Why are you stretching on the cauldron of the?" And then his cape like slaps him down, and he's like, "I'll allow that."
Like, putting Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch, I want to see that buddy movie. Like, you know what? I want to. Can we get a multiversal Sherlock show? That's what I want to see. Can we get like somehow like Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock winds up in Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock universe, and it's directed by Guy Ritchie? Because
with ideas like this,
dear sweet mama, that would be awesome.
How do you and I not have writing credits or something going for like a BSG reboot? How does Sam Esmail land a multi-million-dollar payday and produce nothing, and you and I are cranking out ideas like it's going out of style?
Because the world is run by schmucks, basically. That's why.
After this week, fair enough.
It's one of those deals where it's like, and my evidence is,
look around.
Exhibits A through however many you can count. Yes. You know, you got a stick, you can shake it at them all.
But we leave it to you, the people, to.
Mario Bane hasn't been around for a while. Thank you.
That's right. He is not. Can I get a little? There we go. Thank you very much.
I had to switch screens for that one. I got my new laptop, but I'm still working out all the kinks of trying to get everything on there.
Uncle Todd and technology. It is a gift to watch it play out in front of one.
Hey, at least my SSL certificate hasn't expired yet. I'm sorry. Too soon? Too soon?
Ah! Little snug. Little snug. Oh my gosh. Nonetheless. An interesting theory put forth by Hina at fandomwire.com.
And by interesting, we mean totally ridiculous.
Before we get to the last one, because I haven't read this yet, but I think this is quasi-serious, and I just want to throw a quick question out to you. Are you fully caught up on Acolyte, at least as far as last week?
We are woefully behind at this point. I think we've seen the first three. I know.
You need to get caught up. We have some things to discuss.
The problem is, like, my daughter's like work schedule is really cutting into TV time, and although she's making banging bucks for friggin' working at an ice cream stand, it's I hear what she's getting in tips. I'm like, that's what I used to get working at a Mexican restaurant 20 years ago. Like, good God, that's what I was living on. And you're just like, meh.
Yep.
I find her money just like laying around in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm just starting to take this. Like, we're now going to have like this. The laundry rule is going to apply house wide. Like, if it's laying on the counter, mine. You remember, because your mom used to have that rule, like, hey, you leave a 10 in your pockets.
Yeah,
that's house money now.
That's a tax.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to have to institute that.
I think so.
Jeez.
I think so. All right. Well, sir, do you want to walk us through the last one? This is something that you have selected, and
well, it's because we just happened to be recording on July the 2nd, and for those who might know, this is kind of it's an interesting thing because I grew up the first portion of my life living in New Hampshire, as I like to call it, the right side up Vermont. And now I have moved to Maine. My father, was from Maine, so in a way, I've moved back to the old country in a weird sort of way. Just about an hour north. Not that big of a move, but one of the things that I do appreciate, I'm a big fan of history, and today, July 2nd, 2024, is the 162nd anniversary, which is a very odd anniversary to celebrate, but that's just how the math works. And I don't think we've ever recorded on July 2nd before, so I figured this is a great time to do this. But it's the 162nd anniversary of the 20th Maine at the Battle of Gettysburg. And this is a very interesting little footnote in history, but a very important one. So the Battle of Gettysburg, which is the largest battle ever fought in the Western Hemisphere, which is kind of a mind job in and of itself, is often called the turning point of the American Civil War. The battle was a narrow victory for the Union and could have been a Confederate victory if it were not for a series of critical events. One such episode involved the 20th Maine Infantry. At Gettysburg, the 20th Maine was commanded by Colonel Joshua L. Chamberlain, a former professor, which I love the fact that there was a prof from Maine's Bowdoin College was in command of this infantry regiment.
The pen is mightier than the sword, sir.
And in this case, you're pretty damn close to what actually happened, because after marching all day and night to reach Gettysburg, all day and all night, because that's how you got there back in the day, the regiment was ordered late in the afternoon of July 2nd to occupy critical terrain between two hills, Big and Little Round Top. Chamberlain was ordered to hold this position on the extreme left flank of the Union line. Important note here, at all costs. If outflanked by the Confederates...
Mick Foley rules apply here, ladies and gentlemen.
If outflanked by the Confederates, the entire Union position would be in jeopardy. It was not long before the 15th and 47th Alabama regiments attacked. The 20th Maine held off 6 attacks by the determined Alabama men, but Colonel Chamberlain knew that his regiment, low on ammunition, in some cases out of ammunition, could not withstand a 7th attack. He therefore ordered a counterattack. Ladies and gentlemen, important point coming up, with fixed bayonets. And the 20th Maine charged down the slopes of Little Round Top into the startled Confederates and broke their attack. The 20th Maine took 400 prisoners and stopped the Confederate threat to the Union flank. The crucial role these Maine militiamen played in the Union victory at Gettysburg exemplifies the military qualities of leadership, initiative, and cohesion and gallantry. Joshua Chamberlain was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions of July 2nd, 1863. Oh, okay, so it's was that 1860? So it might be 161st. I did my math on the 1862. Anyways, at Appomattox Courthouse, almost 2 years later, it was Brevet Major General Chamberlain, chosen to accept the Confederate surrender, who ordered Union troops to present arms to their former enemy as a mark of respect. After the war, Chamberlain was elected governor of Maine and completed his military career as a major general in the Maine National Guard. The heritage of the 20th Maine is carried on today by the 133rd Engineer Battalion, Maine Army National Guard. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I have to belabor this point, but I will a little bit, because as a history buff, I feel like we kind of need to understand these things and really kind of take it into account. So, I mean, if you haven't seen the movie Gettysburg with Jeff Daniels, excellent.
But to be confused with Dumb and Dumber with Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, no, it's very different movies. Nary a Jim Carrey appearance to be had in Gettysburg, although it would have been rather interesting if somehow he snuck in. He was playing like a dead body. But to be in a situation like that, where you are literally like, we are out of ammo, and to then say, we are now going to fix bayonets, essentially a large knife at the end of your rifle, and we are going to charge at the people who do, by the way, have ammunition. They still have ammunition and are going to be shooting at us, and we are going to charge at them and try to stab them. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to have whatever girding of your loins, you need to have that screwed on pretty damn tight in those moments. The fact that happened is just amazing to me. And every year, because I live in Maine and know a lot of folks on Facebook in Maine, this gets posted, and it amazes me every single year. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's to Joshua Chamberlain.
Here, sir.
And the members of the 20th Maine. My goodness. They don't make them like that anymore. Well, they do, actually. There's a lot of brave folks out there, but wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming kind of face to face with history like that is amazing to me. But anyways,
we did miss a recent anniversary, 26th anniversary of the 1998 Hell in the Cell match between The Undertaker and Mick Foley, which
almost the same as Little Round Top, really.
Not to compare to the Battle of Gettysburg, but ladies and gentlemen, a war of attrition, if you will, between The Undertaker and then Mankind.
Is, I think I rewatched that with the commentary with Foley and Taker.
Yeah.
On Peacock, not that long ago. I might have actually watched it like close to the anniversary. I don't. Anyways, but we didn't we do a whole thing where we watched that? Did we do?
We did.
Yeah. So go back and find that. I'll link that in the show notes. But sir, you want to take us out of the Week in Geek here, since that is usually your thing.
Yes. And before I do, thank you, sir, for pulling this all together while I was dealing with a chaotic mess of a situation yesterday.
Hey, it's what brothers in idiotic arms do for each other.
That's right. And that, my friends, is the Week in Geek.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this coming Saturday, and I will actually try and get this posted before the event happens. We have Money in the Bank 2024, and as the man they call Tim spoke of, the main thrust of this is we have men's and women's matches that will essentially have briefcases suspended over the ring and that contain, kayfabe, a contract that is an open contract that you can cash in at any time. And basically, it is 1 year, right? Like you can't just keep this thing forever. So it's until the next Money in the Bank.
Now that you said that, we have to post in the show notes the link to Brock Lesnar being informed by his at that time counsel, Paul Heyman, that it is a 12-month period. And what happens after that has to be some of the best comedic work by this duo that has ever happened in a wrestling ring.
And there was
I have a year? A year! You didn't know? No, I didn't know. Smack, smack. I mean, Brock Lesnar and his ability to take a piece of paper and turn it into a vicious weapon against his wise man at the time was absolute.
Well, no, he was a special counsel.
He was a special counsel. That is right.
Yeah,
that is right.
But it's no, he was an advocate, wasn't he? Was he advocate or
right.
was he special counsel?
He was an advocate.
Because wasn't he the special counsel for CM Punk or something? Or
might have been.
Anyways, he's had several different. But
So
no,
good.
that was
So
almost as funny as the moment with R-Truth and the Royal Rumble. That was almost as good. Almost.
I am pulling myself out of the Royal Rumble.
Undeclaring the Royal Rumble. I just love Heyman there because he can't stop like adding in a bit. Like, you know what? I'm going to push you a little. Like, nobody likes you.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is great because everyone's like, no, we love R-Truth.
Well,
How
and then
dare you?
and then the game is on because then R-Truth is trying to get Lesnar to crack up when he's talking about his, 24/7 I-495 South,
He already had him. Like as soon as he came out there, Brock was ready to break at any second. Like it basically was like a feather to knock him over into that, Yep. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Anyways, so we have two of those matches. We have one for the men, one for the women, and basically the Money in the Bank contract is good for whichever championship you want, because both men and women have dueling world championships.
And the important thing is you can cash. And I know you said this, but it bears repeating. Even though there is a contract, what I've always liked about this is they have not bound it to declaring for a match at an event. It is. It can be cashed in at any point in time. CM Punk cashing in on a Raw after Batista just beat the hell out of Edge, and he won his first world championship that way. We talked about Seth Rollins. Dolph Ziggler is another one who cashed in and won the World Heavyweight Championship at that time. A lot of people have cashed it in. I think, I forget his name. Damian Sandow was his name. He was
Yeah, I just saw something about him today where
he's the only one I think who cashed in against. I think it was against Cena, and he lost. I think he's the only person who's lost after cashing in.
There was a thing on WrestleMania today about him where he claimed that he was getting such a good reaction that Vince decided to bury him. Which on one hand I'm like, it sounds like sour grapes. On the other hand I'm like, it totally sounds like something Vince would do.
Fits the MO. It sadly does. Sadly does.
There's if you told me that Vince liked to spend his Saturdays drowning bags of kittens off of the Stamford whatever Memorial Bridge, I okay.
All I know
I don't
is
100% believe it, but I don't 100% disbelieve it either.
Yeah, and I don't think this is 100% the case, but I'm going to say this just for effect. It's no wonder to me when you have wrestlers who make it into the Hall of Fame and they get up there and they're very heartfelt and very emotional about their achievements, because I have no doubt at some level they're kind of like, it was a freaking miracle given the way this company is run that I was able to get to the level that I got to. You know what I mean? And I say that somewhat facetiously, but I do think there's a measure of truth to it, because if you see folks like Damian Sandow is one of those guys, kind of like Zack Ryder, who built a fan following organically and was suppressed by the management at the time, not pushed. And it was really unfortunate. Whereas in today's Paul Levesque WWE, and really the most recent one that I'm thinking of is LA Knight, because he really pulled himself out of a creative hole that he was in and turned himself into the megastar and was pushed and was cultivated and grown. And so I think for some of these guys, especially back during the Vince years, I'm sure to some degree it was a freaking miracle they even had the level of success they had because of how things could just turn on a dime with him.
Yeah. Although, and the funny thing is, they did mention LA Knight in that WrestleMania video, and one of the things they mentioned was how he has gotten a lackluster push. I mean, I feel like there's been stops and starts. I think mostly because when something unexpected comes, it's interesting. There was a Bruce Pritchard episode of Something to Wrestle With where he talked about how Hollywood. I'm making work for myself, adding more links in here to what I'm going to have to add to the show notes. But he talks about how Hollywood writers don't make it, don't last with wrestling companies. And his example was a guy who he made it 4 or 5 weeks, and apparently he was a screenwriter and he'd written Liar Liar and a couple of other movies, and came to the realization after a month and a half, oh my gosh, you guys do this every single week. And he makes an excellent point. He's like, you have months and months and months and months to write a 2-hour, hour and a half, 2-hour screenplay. We do 2 hours of live television every single week.
Yep.
And I think in terms of some of these pushes, you're caught a little flat-footed by oh my gosh, what do we do with LA Knight? We already kind of have what we're going to do between now and WrestleMania somewhat in motion. We can't just all of a sudden, I mean, and there are examples Daniel Bryan managed to get thrown into the main event of a WrestleMania because the crowd essentially demanded it. But it doesn't always work that way. You can't always just okay, just poop can all of our plans and now this guy is the thing. You have to figure out some way to do it. And I think in a way it's been stops and starts with him, but at the same time, they are building him and they are keeping him in the mix. And this thing with Logan Paul, it's yeah, hey, guess what? We're not putting you in the main event, but when you're working with someone like Logan Paul, who is this thing of he's not that experienced, but he's a hell of a worker, even though he's fairly new to the game. But look at the media following that this guy has. It's almost the next best thing to being in the main event.
Yeah.
I mean, good God, the exposure you're getting, having this dude talk about you, everybody's going to know about you just peripherally because you're in a ring with this guy.
Yeah.
But anyways, I wanted to point that out because that's in that video too.
Nice.
But anyways, so the card that we're going to kind of run through here is as of post Raw, on Monday night for July 2nd, and we're going to go through this. This is I'm guessing this is like kind of the order they figure the card's going to go in, so who knows how it'll go.
Sure.
So let's start off with what is, I think, probably will be the opening match, which could be very interesting. The 6-man tag match featuring the Alliance of the Willing, the Cody Rhodes, Kevin
the
Owens,
Alliance of the Willing. Good
I don't
God.
know. What was it that they called? I don't know. It was, so we have Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton versus Bloodline 2.0, which is Solo Sikoa, Tamatonga, and Tonga Loa. Jeez, trying to keep those names straight is a thing in and of itself. This is going to be very, very, very interesting because, first of all, apparently WWE broke its own social media record with their footage from the SmackDown last week with the beatdown of Paul Heyman, which, you know what? I've only got a little bit left here, but here's to you, Paul. Sweet mother of God. Paul Heyman taking bumps that like no rational man, like he's hardcore. Can we get that chant? And I mean, come on, taking a Samoan spike, a splash, and then power bomb through the fracking announcer's table.
He looked like me the first time I jumped off do you remember the old Dover Rec Center? And I don't know if you ever took swimming lessons there, but I did. And when I finally graduated up to the point of going
the high dive,
the big diving board. Well, no, it was indoor, but it was this big diving board, deep pool. And
wait, did they have a high dive there, or was that just at the?
I think that
pool?
was a guppy. I think that was
because the indoor was
outdoor.
just a regular, but it was still it was a decent height.
Oh yeah. And I just remember when where was I going with this? I started talking about
the
were you
bump
just
he took, and like you were talking about the first. Time.
The way when he went up before they power bombed him through.
Oh, the nervous.
That is like how I was when I jumped off the diving board, where I was just like, I mean, he was like, he was taking in oxygen, like, all right, I'm ready, boys, here we go, bam. It was insane.
My
and the
gosh.
Freaking crowd when he said, "You're not my tribal chief." I mean, it wasn't at the level of when Sammy nailed Roman with the chair, but it was damn near close.
Well, because I mean, think about it this way. I mean, Sammy doing that in Montreal. No, that wasn't in Montreal. The match was in Montreal.
Right. No. When he hit him with the chair, that wasn't in Montreal. No.
But still, yeah. The fact that, and what I love about this is the little things.
Mm-hmm.
When Heyman comes out, first of all, you don't think anything is different because Heyman's got his normal strut behind everybody. But then you catch him on camera and you see he had the 5 o'clock shadow, and Heyman is always immaculately dressed, shaven, like what little 3 strands of hair he has left. God bless him, well coiffed and greased down.
Yep.
He had a 5 o'clock shadow. It looked like he hadn't slept in days, like had the red eyes and everything. And I was like, oh.
Did he smoke some weed before he went on?
Was he hanging out with RVD? Was RVD backstage?
Where's Rob?
But I mean, it sold it because then you're seeing this guy and you're like, oh my gosh, he's like strung out. Like he is really like just a wreck.
Just showing the stress of the situation. Yeah.
And then the fact that like when Solo said, acknowledge me, and Paul sold it like someone had just slapped his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they brought out like Roman's necklace, you would have thought like his grandma got slapped and his dog had just gotten. I mean, it was like the worst thing ever. And I told you, and the fact that like as he's like holding the beads and like just cradling them, and the fact that he looks, and oh my gosh, this is why Heyman is so effing good at what he does.
Yeah,
looks up. And he says, "Why have you forsaken me?" Like off mic, totally. You have to be watching it, but knowing like this guy, I'm watching it, and just the fact that I could read his lips, I'm like, "That's beautiful." That is so brilliant. Like there's so many that hopefully they have that from like multiple angles that they can use later. Cause oh God, it was an Emmy worthy performance. But apparently this is like set the record for, social media watches for WWE and instantly turned Paul into like one of the biggest faces in the company, which is amazing considering who Paul Heyman has been throughout his career. Where he's kind of been the slime ball, dirt ball, or just the loudmouth, and now it's like people genuinely like love him. Oh my gosh,
it's amazing when you put him in a different environment where he is now, he is not in a position of power. He is not calling any shots. He's basically, the way he's portrayed himself, it's like every week is like he doesn't even know what's going on, and he's waiting for he's waiting for his tribal chief to return, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Well, and that's going back to Raw, because then like with the whole thing with CM Punk, where he and again just so good, where he's like, I'm doing you this favor so I can get a favor, and then you kind of almost forget that he had said that up until the point where Punk is like, hey Paul, what was that favor you wanted? And you just get that, take me with you.
Yeah.
And just the look on his face. And at that moment, you're like, oh God, he's not in a good place.
Yeah.
There's no safe word for the Bloodline 2.0. Like, this is bad.
Nope.
Oh my gosh. And then he had to go back with him.
Yeah.
Which then makes sense to SmackDown. So anyways, we get to all of that. We say all of that to this. Will Roman Reigns return?
No. Do you want to explain why?
Yes, I would love for you to explain why. And I'm listening, but I'm just going to move over to this second.
Yeah, no worries. So what became apparent at the Paris Backlash show was the chemistry with Owens and Orton and Tama Tonga and Solo. And I don't think there's a loss of it when it comes to with Tonga Loa. So I think these 6 are a great concoction to have a wild brawling match. And what I think is going to happen here is you're going to have another phenomenal match with these 6 men, which will end with Solo Sikoa pinning Cody Rhodes, which is going to set up what I believe is going to be part of the SummerSlam 2-night main event.
Well, no, it's not 2 nights this year. It's next.
I thought they said it was 2. No,
I think it's 2025 is the 2 night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the big matches will end up being Cody versus Solo, and I believe that will be when Roman returns.
Well, the funny thing is, like, so you were the one who was like saying Roman was going to be back at this pay-per-view. And I was the one who was like, no, it's going to be SummerSlam. And then everything happened with Heyman. I'm like, oh, he's going to be back. It's got to happen now. And
now
I'm the one jumping the gun.
It could happen.
I do think I agree. And
it could happen.
Yes, it could.
But the key here is what throws a lot of this off is that if you have Roman return to thwart Solo now,
yes,
what are you building toward at SummerSlam? If it's not Cody versus Solo, then it's Solo versus Roman.
Yeah.
But who, and at that point, who does Cody face? Because he doesn't really have a budding feud going on with anyone else right now. What he has is a budding feud with Solo. So it feels like logically what you want to get to is Solo versus Cody for the championship at SummerSlam.
Yes.
And if Solo pins Cody, now he has something to hold over Cody leading up to that event, which is, I pinned you once, I can pin you again. And you have a match where Solo comes close, but when he thinks victory is within grasp, all of a sudden the tribal chief's music hits and he comes down the aisle and basically causes Solo to lose.
Yeah.
And now you have Solo and Roman going off into a program heading towards Survivor Series, which I predicted back in April was going to be a bloodline civil war and war games with Roman leading one squad. And so the story from SummerSlam to Survivor Series is, can Roman put together a coalition of people, given all the people he's hosed over the last several years of his title reign?
Yes.
Which I think is a phenomenal story.
Oh, totally. I mean, if you can get Jimmy, think about it this way. So what? You've got Solo. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the traditional war games? Is it 4-on-4 or is it 5-on-5?
5-on-5 typically.
Okay, so this could get real fracking interesting because now you've got to find another member of the bloodline.
And who do you think Solo is going to recruit?
So you possibly you've got what? Solo, Tama, you got Tonga, you got Jacob Fatu.
Fatu.
Oh my gosh, did
Four of
they ever nail his intro?
Holy crap. That guy is freaking money.
He looks like he is that person, and I love the fact that the way that they sold it, like when he debuted, and then they had everyone come up in the ring and putting up the one, and you've got Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa looking like, oh, this effing guy's here now.
Who are crazy in their own right, and they're concerned about this guy.
Exactly, and that's why they've just built it layer on layer. I'm like,
yeah.
it's brilliant. This is the way that you do it. Hey, Tony Khan,
Mm-hmm.
this is the way you do it, by the way. So you got 4 of them, and then of course, if you can put OG bloodline, you got Jimmy, you get Jay. I think they could free up Sammy by that point. Honorary Uce. Then it's like, who's the 5th? Do you bring Cody into this? And then maybe
that would be interesting.
And then maybe because there's been some seeds sown about, is Randy gonna try and come after Cody?
Okay,
does Randy all of a sudden side with Bloodline 2.0? I mean, I don't.
It's interesting you say Randy. So sorry, there is one avenue where this could go off the rails of what I was saying, and that is rather than what I say about Solo pinning Cody, there are rumors that Randy Orton could challenge Cody for the world championship at SummerSlam, in which case, to your point, Roman does come back and they do end up doing a Roman versus Solo match at SummerSlam while Cody, and I forgot about this because Cody has kind of a nice history built-in feud with Randy.
Oh yeah, totally.
So that's something you could percolate from now to SummerSlam is Randy challenging Cody, the teacher who was once, or the student who was once following the teacher now is challenging, his protege, and that whole back and forth. So this could be where Randy turns heel potentially. So I'm glad you said that because I forgot about that angle to all of this, that you could have Roman return, thwart Solo in the bloodline, start that storyline off, which leads to that match, which then leads to Survivor Series, and then you have Cody and Randy having their feud. If you don't have Randy and Cody, then I think it's got to be Cody and Solo.
Well, now keep in mind though, because I almost wonder,
because ultimately just a bit player in all this.
Well, no, because Owens is never a bit player. I think he's. There's going to be some.
Maybe Owens
here.
faces Jacob Fatu.
Oh my gosh! Can you
imagine those two? That's a freaking crazy combo right there. Those two.
That's CTE, just incarnate, which it makes me scared. I don't know if I'm scared for Jacob because he seemed cray for real. Kevin, it makes me a little scared for him.
Yeah, look up Jacob Fatu and his aerial Samoan drop. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. He throws a guy up in the air, and he catches him in midair and drops into a Samoan drop. I mean, it's like incredible to watch, like the timing of it all. It's like ridiculous.
He is one of those guys that I look at and I'm like, he looks like an athletic freak, and he also looks like he's not all there.
Yeah,
like legit. And Corny, Uncle Corny, said the same thing. He's like, he looks like he is crazy. Like he has a scraggly beard, all this, like he was so over the top about like how they introduced him and everything. Here's what I think. I think we could be looking at a Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes for WrestleMania, because ultimately I think, I forgot about this, I think the 5th member for the Survivor Series Bloodline 2.0 is The Rock.
Right. Well, that's where I thought you were going. Yeah. It's going to be The Rock. 100%.
Because then you have Rock Roman for night 1 of WrestleMania. Night 2 is Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, which, I mean, good sweet God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me that all the time. And hopefully we can get, hopefully the time off will have pulled Roman out of the kind of some of the characteristics of the tribal chief and given him a little bit more oomph, so that we can actually have a match that doesn't plod. That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Be real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we've gone on and on about this, but yeah, that was my question for that. And overall, going back to what I probably said about 15 minutes ago, because we've been talking about this match forever. I think with this show, because we've got so many opportunities for interference and stuff, I'm really hopeful that they limit it to 1, maybe 2 matches where there's an interference angle. And I'm kind of hoping that we get, and I'll outline this when we get towards the end, for what I hope will unfold for the World Heavyweight Championship match. I'm hoping they save it for that, because that could be a schmoz to end all schmozes, if you will. If you will. You know what? You've sold me, and we're actually going to do some predictions here. I don't think we're not going to put anything on the line for this, right? Like, I mean,
we don't have on our docket. We don't have a follow-up show to talk about how we do here. So, I mean, we got to, or maybe we dedicate the Week in Geek to run through the returns, in short order.
We could. I don't think there's a need to put a bottle on this, because honestly, like it's fixed.
Well, that, and you'll just change all your picks like the day we record, and. Yeah.
I was being nice to you. I was being nice to you. And now, hang on a second. Let me take the kid gloves off.
Oh boy, here we go. Smoke you.
So you've talked me into it. So just so you know, Tim has finished, put in his prediction, which is Bloodline 2.0 wins, no Roman Reigns. I'm going to go with your prediction, because I think it makes way too much sense from a booking standpoint. Yeah. So, because the thing is, like, I like how, and again, there was a thing for WrestleMania about how, like, zero aura, which, and they had the picture was Solo, which I'm like, ugh. It is tough, because they have been trying to build Solo as this thing, and he was on a humongous losing streak.
He was. Yeah.
However, I think that
which is weird, because he had squashed Cena.
Well, here's the thing. I think it works to his advantage, because at the end of the day, like, the insecurity about being the cosplay tribal chief, there is that angle to it. Like, yeah, you're vicious, but what have you really done? I think that can come into play and work through it. Right now, we're kind of in that weird inner, stitial space where who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, no, I think it makes sense for him to get a clean pin on Cody. Like,
yeah,
because nobody has in how long? It would make sense,
right? Yeah,
and hopefully that is the way it goes. Like, it's no interference. There's no, if Jacob Fatu interferes, it doesn't directly affect the pin, because
I mean, AJ Styles and Logan Paul would get one over on him in a extracurricular sense, but they never pinned him in a match. And so, again, I think it goes to the masterful storytelling that's going on right now, because I don't think it's a mistake. I think they want to take whoever does pin Cody in a non-title scenario like this and turn it into a big deal. Like, they pin the champ.
Yeah, which
champ hasn't been pinned since, I don't know when. I mean,
it's a perfect way to protect him. Because, I mean, you could have
hasn't been pinned since WrestleMania Night 1. Cody took the pin from Rock.
That's right.
And so another Samoan, from the bloodline pins Cody again. Like, Cody's number seems to be up with the Samoans.
Which that would be, oh my gosh. So what do we got? It's the next pay-per-view is SummerSlam, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's perfect build. I mean, yeah, the only other person who's pinned you is the final boss, and yeah, that'd be great. And then to find out, like, through machinations, that Rock is the one pulling the strings, like, Anyways, we've talked way long on this one. So we both agree Bloodline 2.0 is going over, no Roman Reigns, which brings us to the Intercontinental title match. We have Sami Zayn defending against Braun Breaker.
The worker's belt.
Oh,
Macho's my worker. He's a little green. He's gonna have to give a couple favors, but he'll bring some shine to the title.
Oh my gosh,
freaking Austin,
Steve Austin, Cat Dad.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we talked about this last episode, but I have to say it again. go to Steve Austin BSR, find the reel where he's
On
talking
Instagram.
about I'm sorry, thank you, on Instagram, where he's putting his cats. They're in kind of a contained room for sleeping time.
Well, no, it's his tack room. But is a
What the
tack
hell
room?
is a tack room? I don't even know what a tack room is.
It's oh my gosh. Okay.
What is a tack room?
It's like for horses, like where you keep all your stuff for your horses. I don't know exactly.
I'm sorry. I live in the urban area of Illinois. The horses don't exactly roam free around here. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so it's like the room where you keep like all the stuff for the horses.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
But he hasn't. But the thing is, like, and you think like, oh yeah, they're semi like Poncho, the older cat, is like a semi-feral barn cat. Like this is not like a normal like house.
He
cat.
knows the system. I love how Austin talks. Like there's a system. The cat does whatever the hell it wants. Let's be honest here. He responds to Steve. He knows Steve feeds him. He has a good thing going with
cats
Steve.
Are pretty much Brock Lesnar. The cats do what the cats want to do. I mean, to put it in wrestling terms. But what I love is the fact that like it's a tack room, and so it's got all the horse stuff in there. But he also has like these like cat condos, like scratching posts and all this, and he has air conditioning in there. So that's why they go in there at night, is so that they're in there, that no other animals can get at them, but they're cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like Steve Austin is the internet's cat dad.
Steve Austin, civil engineer.
It's amazing.
It is.
All right, so let me.
But he goes into the whole thing about Poncho's my world champion. Yep, he's going to hold that for a long time. He's going to be. He's not going to take a loss to anyone. And then he gets into Macho, and he's like, Macho's my Intercontinental. Now he's the worker. Like the Intercontinental has a worker's belt.
Well, here's the issue that I have is like you're not ready for the Intercontinental belt, and Austin was around it back in the day when the Euro champ was a thing. So he should.
That's true.
Macho should be the Euro champ. You're not quite ready for IC champ. You know?
Agreed.
If he had like a dog that had like 3 legs, and it was like, well, he can work around that.
Yeah.
Anywho,
all right, we're going to move on to the Intercontinental belt here, the workers' belt. Sami Zayn, who is the champion, versus Braun Breaker. And you have an interesting question here, although the name is wrong. Will there be interference from Sheamus, not Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser?
I couldn't remember which one it was. Oh, say, can you fix that for me?
I am fixing it right now.
And again, I kind of hope if there's going to be, then I hope there's no interference in either of the Money in the Bank ladder matches. Because I kind of feel like the interference might come in the main event. This is a really interesting match because Braun Breaker is being built as like Brock Lesnar 2.0. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Just the quickness, the athleticism, just the sheer ass kicking ability, the kind of like a little bit is all there.
I love that.
You're welcome. And Sami Zayn, bumps like nobody's business, and literally has over the past couple of years has kind of made a cottage industry out of getting his ass kicked, and really being that guy who like is literally out on his feet for a third of most of his of his big matches.
Yeah.
Where it's like literally his body is reacting on instinct is what they always go to. So this is very interesting because on one hand, I don't think Sammy holds the IC belt forever. I don't think this is a long-term thing. I don't think he's a transitional champion, but I think that they're using him to get somewhere else. And also I think they're trying to build him up a little bit. Like I think this is a very much a like, hey, you know what? You've stuck with us, and yeah, we gave you that really terrible conspiracy guy theory. Sorry. And you did really good with us with the honorary Oos thing. So here's this. And because he's held the IC belt a couple times before, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like hey, hold on to this for a little while, which is nice. I don't know that Braun Breaker is ready for taking over this championship. I don't know that he's ready for this.
Yeah.
But I could see this almost going into like a disqualification thing where Sammy basically wins because Braun Breaker is just like being inhumane, is being inhumane, that sort of thing to build that up. But this has the potential to be just like one of those matches where even like as a fan where like, okay, everyone is working together. They're not actually trying to kill each other, but you're literally in your living room like pulling a JR in Hell in a Cell, like somebody stop the damn match, like that sort of thing, because you're just like, dear God, he's getting killed.
Now,
like,
this is somewhat tied to Braun Breaker, but I have been watching, I haven't finished it yet, the biography of the Steiner brothers.
oh jeez.
And when they talk about when they broke the Steiner brothers up during WCW's heyday, that Scott and Rick both talk about they had to sit down, they had to sit their kids down and explain. Their kids were legitimately upset when Scott turned on Rick.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "What the hell is going on?" And they had to explain to him, "It's just a job. We're not mad at each other."
Well, because you're
as Ricky Steamboat would say, he made him wise to the business.
But you're still at that point where kayfabe is still kind of. Those guys came up during the time when that was the way it went. Like kayfabe, for those who might still be, dear God, thank God, bless you if you're listening an hour into the show and you barely know anything about wrestling. But if you don't, kayfabe was basically the way that you would term it for like making people think that wrestling is real, like that people are actually out there legitimately fighting for their lives, that it's not predetermined, all those things. Now, that's not to discount any of the athleticism, the talent necessary. It's just that's the way it was done back in the day. And those guys kind of came up when that was still really a thing, and you protected the business. So yeah, I could see that, even though maybe they had probably told their kids and their family before, but you have to remind them, like, listen, nobody jump in like Ricky's dad. Don't come in with a steel chair.
I'm sure Braun Breaker, who is Rick Steiner's son, was ready to rip Scott's head off when he saw his dad get beaten down by his uncle.
And even probably at like 10 years old, he would have been terrifying. Like, this guy is, dear God, that dude's a unit. If I see that dude running at me, I'm like, I'm jumping into a car and praying that it's like gonna withstand his shoulder, like running into it. Ugh.
So to your point, what I think is kind of interesting here is, do they use this as a statement match more than a crowning of Braun Breaker to elongate the angle into SummerSlam, where he will end up being like, I can see them go. So there's one of two ways this goes, obviously, right? Breaker wins, becomes the IC champ at Money in the Bank. The other way this goes is, to your point, and I like where you're going, because I was thinking a similar thing where, like, not the way you stated it, but just that Sammy, maybe it's through DQ from Sheamus or Ludwig or something else happens that causes Braun to not win the belt.
Mm-hmm.
But it is clear that Braun has done some damage to Sammy. He was in position, let's say, to win, and chicanery exists, whatever. Because now what you could potentially do there is introduce the cage match concept with Breaker and Breaker and Sammy for the IC belt at SummerSlam to keep or you go with a four-way with Sheamus, Ludwig, Braun, and Sammy, and maybe Braun ends up pinning someone who isn't Sammy to win the belt, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you can keep that feud going on into the fall, because Sammy's like, you didn't pin me, so on and so forth. So I feel like this is going to be a match to just forward the feud, but not necessarily move the belt at this stage, because it feels like moving the belt happens at SummerSlam. Because Sammy beat not Walter, what is his name? Gunther. Beat Gunther, ended that reign. It feels appropriate. Let him reign until SummerSlam. Give him a good 4 to 5 month reign to justify dethroning what was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. But then have him fall either at the hands of Breaker in a cage match where it's clear that Sammy just is the lesser, Braun is the better man and wins the belt, or do it in a fatal four-way where Braun still shows off his massive, brawn and violent nature, but maybe doesn't pin Sammy, because you can actually stretch that into maybe Survivor Series at one point.
Well, here's the thing. I think eventually, I think the real money is getting Sammy involved in the Bloodline feud. And if we're looking at that towards Survivor Series, you
That's
got to
fair.
get the belt off of Sammy.
Yeah.
I think that the natural way to go is I think you give Sammy a DQ win here. And I personally, I think the money and the building of the character comes with if you do one of these things, almost like what Roman Reigns and they did to Kevin Owens, where they just beat him down until he can't. Because Sammy does that so well.
Yeah. Yep.
The dude takes an ass kicking like nobody's business.
Yep.
If you basically have it like Braun is taking him to a point where like even outside the ring or whatever, and it becomes a DQ because the refs can't control him.
Yep.
And he hangs on to it through those methods. Then you get to SummerSlam. I think the money then becomes if you take the belt off of Sammy and it goes to Sheamus, because they've emphasized way too many times that Sheamus has never won an IC belt. And Sheamus is much more capable of like taking on someone like Braun Breaker. And it also gets Sammy out of the IC
and it puts
picture.
more of a juice on Breaker if he beats Sheamus, right? If Sheamus wins and then Breaker dominates Sheamus, that elevates, which I could see them using Sheamus to do. I mean, Sheamus at the twilight. Sheamus is at the end of his career.
15
right?
years now. Like I just saw a video on
right.
Instagram or something.
So if you build him up as the brawler and then you put him in front of Breaker and Breaker runs over him, you're continuing to enhance the aura of Braun Breaker as an IC champ.
Yeah, or even doesn't necessarily run over him, just outlasts him. Because
sure,
you can still do right by Sheamus there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't mean like job him out like Goldberg style, but I mean similar to what we're talking about with this match. I mean, Breaker could just dominate Sammy.
Oh, totally.
Because of just the sheer power and violence that he brings, and Sammy can still walk away with the victory. Whereas same with Sheamus. Like Sheamus could keep it close, but it's very clear Breaker is outgunning him.
Yeah.
And so So for this match, I mean, my prediction is Sammy's going to retain. I feel like there's some legs to this that they could extend into SummerSlam, and potentially include Sheamus and Ludwig in a 4-way. So I'm going to go Sammy on this one.
I'm going to go to that as well.
All right.
I talked myself into it.
Will there be interference from Sheamus and Ludwig? I think yes.
I mean, in a way, I think there has to be, just where they've kind of kept it in that mode, you know. And you want to elevate Kaiser, because who was it, Taker, or was it when we?
Oh, it was Taker. Yeah, Taker loves Ludwig.
You just see that dude, and you're like, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
And you can't put a price. You can't put a price on that. Like if you just have that, and you know what? You know who else has that? Dirty Dom. People see that mullet come out, and they're like, I detest this guy on a genetic level. That is glorious.
Yep.
Because you can do 100%. Whatever the hell you want. Good for you, man. No, I agree. I hope there is a bit of that, but I hope it ultimately comes down to like Braun being put up as this guy who like you just can't control, because that has legs. That is something that you can then play off of for an awfully long time.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, I'm guessing we have the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which. Buckle in for this one. We have Jey Uso versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade versus Drew McIntyre versus Chad Gable versus LA Knight, and a cast of thousands. And my big question here is, will we get some Logan Paul and or Wyatt Six interference? Honestly,
yes.
I don't know if we get Logan Paul.
Oh, I think we get Logan Paul.
You think so? Yeah,
so,
actually, he's such an attention whore. He has to be there, right? He has to. Okay. You talked me into it. But yeah, there has to be some Wyatt Six, because just on on Raw, they were chasing down Chad. So
so Wyatt Six definitely, because they're going to probably take Chad out of it. I was originally going to go with LA as my pick, but they're building toward probably an LA versus Logan US title match at SummerSlam.
Yes.
So he would not win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think maybe McIntyre wins, but I see this as an opportunity for Punk to come in and once again rob him of a victory, like at the last minute sort of situation.
I've got such a dream scenario. You're going to love this.
Which means, and Andrade is the speed champion, which tells me he's probably not going to get the briefcase. So it's going to come down to Jay and Carmelo, and maybe they give it to Jay.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sorry. I know that smells like a fart I just cut after having a night at Green Street Meats, but sir,
with rancid brisket, yes.
But now that we're talking through, maybe it ends up being
the
Drew.
thing is, I like Jey Uso. I'm sure at heart he's a nice guy, but there's just something about the whole presentation that just makes me.
So I don't think it can be Carmelo because it's too early in his career, but maybe it is.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think he gets a lot. I think he gets a lot of like spots in this. I think
case could be made for Drew.
Yeah,
case could be made for Drew.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I think.
All right.
I think Drew wins.
Okay.
Then I think we'll see. I'll fill you in on I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre, and I will tell you my entire thought process for this when we talk about the
Are
main
you going with Logan and Wyatt 6 interference, or just Wyatt 6?
You know what I think would be great if we got the Wyatt 6 interference right out of the way. Like literally everyone else is in the ring and Chad Gable is introduced last, and then you have the Wyatt 6 thing, and they basically just make him disappear.
Yeah.
And you literally have the other 5 guys in the ring going, huh? And they just go on with the match.
Yep.
Because then because obviously the thing with Chad Gable and the Wyatt 6 is a slow burn. Yeah. I don't think this is going to pay off huge, although I mean, God, that promo from Raw, holy shnikes.
A commenter on YouTube said it best. It is absolutely ridiculous. Well, I'm not saying it verbatim, but this is the gist of it. It's almost ridiculous, or it's amazing how Bo is jumping between being Bo and almost being like his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something there where he's drops
channeling.
He drops into a timbre, a tone with his voice that is very Bray Wyatt like.
Yes.
And it is, and even his face too. Like there's sometimes when they pause on his face where it's like, holy crap. Like I get they're brothers, but my God, that's like, that for a split second is Bray right there.
And you know what? I got to give this guy credit because I don't know Bo Dallas from a hole in the ground. Like I don't know his work. I've never, because again,
look up Bo Dallas and the Great Khali. They had a match back in the early 2010s.
Do I have to look at a Great Khali match?
Absolutely hysterical, because Bo Dallas, his gimmick at the time was like this positive, like this annoying positive reinforcement guy. And like his big thing was all you need to do is Bo leave. That was his thing, and he had the running Bo dog.
Which I can't imagine how that didn't get over.
But he fights Great Khali and he beats him by count out, and he's doing a victory lap around the ring, and he stops and he's kind of like letting him know it's okay, it's not a big deal. And Great Khali gets up and just gives him the hand slap of doom on his chest, and he falls to the ground. And he's sitting there shocked for a minute. And then all of a sudden, Dallas lets out this, oh! Like, I mean, the timing of it was so well done from a comedic standpoint that the first time I watched it, I was just like tears. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, that is such a great, great job by Bo Dallas to sell that. Anyways, so.
I don't know if I can do that.
He goes up, he's like, it's okay, little buddy. And that's when Khali just hauls off and just whacks. And he's like, ah!
On one hand, I kind of hope that the Great Khali is almost like Almost.
Yeah.
Because apparently Almost, he's launched his own YouTube channel.
Almost is still a thing.
Oh, dude, he is a big thing. Like apparently
Okay.
his like social media presence, his content is so uber wholesome. Like he's one of those dudes who's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he plays this intimidating figure, but in in real life, this dude is like one of the most solid,
Yeah.
people you could ever. Which it makes me scared to say because I have no idea who these people are. God knows what skeletons he has in his closet, but it's like this thing where he's like, people are like, oh my gosh, he's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
but anyways, I hope
Although
Kali is like that.
it is an indictment against him that if you spend time with AJ Styles and then have a match with AJ Styles and AJ can't get you over enough, it's like, man, something's wrong.
Well, it's like that whole thing where in Mick Foley's book, I think it was Have a Nice Day, where he asked like, how is it to wrestle this guy, and Owen Hart was like, he's a real nice guy. And Mick Foley's like, no, Owen, how was he to work with? And he just kind of chuckles and he looks at Mick. He's like, he was a real nice guy, and walks away. And
Gosh.
and Mick's like, and then I realized like, oh, he sucks. But Owen is like one of the most wholesomely good people on the planet, next to like Mother Teresa. So
That
he's
is
not going
funny.
to say a bad word about him, but
That
he's
is
going to do it.
funny.
He's going to kind of let you know, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's a real nice guy. Like they have a real, like I said about us, we have really nice personalities. In other words, we have faces for radio.
Yes.
But yeah, so yes, I hope all the things happen because it would be great.
I'm going the same. I agree.
Yeah.
I think after talking through it, because LA Knight can't win. He can't. He's going to face I think he's going to be
Nana.
He's going to go on to
Yeah.
most likely. I believe he's going to unseat Logan Paul at SummerSlam, and
Which
get
would be
the title reign that he so deserves. Given,
I think that he could do a great job of elevating that. I mean, Logan Paul has done a great job of elevating that belt, but
Absolutely.
I think LA Knight would almost. There's a possibility that belt could then achieve a level of prestige over the IC championship.
Yep.
If with LA Knight holding it, almost like back when like John Cena had it, sort of that thing where it's like, oh my gosh, this dude should totally be doing bigger things.
Yeah.
I
could see a potential for Jey Uso and have that be something that he kind of teases, but here's what I'm thinking about McIntyre, and hear me out. McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank. No Punk interference.
Mm-hmm.
But they still build toward a Punk versus McIntyre match at SummerSlam.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
They have the match. Punk defeats McIntyre. McIntyre cashes in, like, let's say Rollins beats Priest, right? McIntyre cashes in against Rollins after whatever match he has at SummerSlam. Beats him, wins the world title. So kind of rubs it in Punk's face. Yeah, you may have beat me, but I'm the world champion. And now you have Punk going after McIntyre for the title to take from him the thing that he was trying to prevent him to get. It's a great long-term story. It's a great long-term story. I think that. So, anyways, I'm going with Drew as well. I agree. I think, and I think there'll be interference on both counts. I think Wyatt Six are going to come in and take Chad out of it. I just don't know where they're going to go with it. Like, if they're bringing Retribution to Gable, I mean, okay, but where does it end up for him? Like, he just re-signed with them, and it seemed like he was starting to build into kind of a real serious threat. And so, I mean, if he continues to do this campy crap, it's like, are they going to fold him into the family? Are they going to?
No, he's getting folded into the family. Yeah. No, and I think that's the thing. Like, and I think this is the time that they really, because what I mean, we've seen it's the Wyatt 5 right now. He's the 6.
No, it is 6. I think.
Is it? Because you got Uncle Howdy, you got the Sister Abigail.
Yep.
Then you got the dude in the gas mask.
Yeah.
Dude with the sledgehammer.
Yeah. There was one other guy.
There was?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
So that's 5. So maybe you're right. Maybe Gable is the 6th.
Gosh, I think I was counting wrong. But anyways, I think he's the 6. I think
Rowan. So Uncle Howdy.
Yep.
What's her name?
Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross. You have Eric Rowan. You have Joe Gacy. You have I forget his name. Dexter Loomis.
Yes. That's 5, right?
Yeah. Was there one other one I'm forgetting?
I don't think there is. I think there's
Okay.
5 right now, and I think
Okay.
he is the 6th. And I think it's going to be very interesting because it'll take Chad Gable in a totally different direction. Because no
Mhm.
matter what they've done, it's still really hard to get over being the shoosh guy.
Yeah. Sheesh.
You know, that's really tough to get over. And they've tried to move him in this way, and I think now that they've separated him from Otis and Maxine and
Which it was
what's
kind of
his
lame what they did with Otis. I thought Otis was going to get more of a beatdown on him than that. I mean, that was just kind of like,
Well,
what
here's
the hell?
thing. I think that becomes there's some sort of way that they roll that in. Because I don't think they're just going to walk away from that. Because you got to have the Wyatt 6 going against somebody. So there's got to be some sort of thing going there.
Yeah.
At least I hope so, because Otis deserves better than that. Tozawa, I think, deserves better than that. Maxine, I mean, gosh, she tries so hard, and she's obvious. Can we just talk for a moment about like the whole like getting your lips thing done? Like, there's a point when it's too much, and Maxine, I think it's like, okay, you don't need to go that far.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to go that far. It's okay. You're fine just the way you are. You're a wonderful person. That's just kind of crazy. You know, that's like Attitude Era, like, hey, just pump everything up, steroids and everything else. But I think she's actually doing a fairly good job of like learning the biz. So I think there's legs there. I think you could like put together a like them and some other folks could wind up becoming like a thing. I don't think they're going to beat the Wyatt 6, but I think that they become the stepping stone. So I mean, hey, you're on TV. And I think ultimately that was what it was with Chad. Like, hey, you're going to be part of this thing that we're doing. And that was the reason he resigned. It's like, all right, I get to change my character. I get to do something different. And you're going to make sure I have a spot on TV. Okay, fair enough. I will do this.
Yeah.
I think that's where it goes. And I really kind of do. I almost hope that he gets eliminated right out the box. Like he just gets disappeared. Because that would be like the spookiest part of that ever. Like he's doing his entrance and then all of a sudden he's fracking gone. And you know who did it, but he just gone.
Yeah.
And everyone else is just going,
there you are.
Oh my gosh, that bit where that line switched away, like it switched over. I know how these things work. I know how story and movies and television, all that, and it creeped me out watching that. Where I'm like, oh boy, Uncle Howdy's coming for me. Like I need to sleep with one eye open. That was great. All right, so we've got a men's Money in the Bank. Now here's women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Oh boy, do we either have a firm opinion on this one? We've got Io Sky, member of Damage Control, Chelsea Green. That was terrible. Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. My main question for this is there any way that Tiffy Time doesn't win this match? Because it seems like that is
the cheap heat maneuver.
Money.
You give her the briefcase so she can get a cheap championship win, and people are like,
well, not even that. Like it just keeps her in that conversation because Io Sky has her thing with Damage Control. Chelsea Green is Chelsea Green. Lyra Valkyria, isn't she like she's half of the tag team champs?
The NXT tag team champs?
No, wait a minute. I thought she was a.
No, she's not the women's.
Oh, that's right. I got my names confused. But anyways, Naomi, I don't think they're. You know, God knows she's done her bit and for King and Country, but I don't think that she's getting elevated in the same way that Sheamus.
But getting this for her doesn't do anything for her.
No, it doesn't.
You know, and then Zoe Stark, I mean, she's in the middle of a tag run with, I mean, they're not champs, but I think they're making a run at the championships with Shayna Baszler.
Which, I mean, I think is actually a really decent tag team. Like, you give them some time, I think that could lead to something. Like, that is a solid tag team that could, I mean, I'm granted, I don't want to start throwing around names, but I mean, I look at those two, they're fracking wrecking balls. You do this right, you can start building them into, again, not the same thing, but you start steering them towards Road Warriors, Demolition, we just come out and kick everybody's ass, and then we, or like the APA, like we go kick ass and then we drink beer, that sort of thing. Oh, good God! Can you imagine like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark doing an APA gimmick?
That'd be interesting.
Is there two better people to do it?
No, I think it's right on.
And wouldn't it be great, like you, like you have Shayna Baszler, like, damn, and then Ron Simmons over in the corner, all of a sudden walk out and just be like, and just walk away.
Yep.
That'd be great. Like a little bit of a rub there. But I think Tiffy time is the way to go with this. Like it keeps her in that conversation. They obviously want her to get ahead. And honestly, she is the most talented and with, okay, let me put it this way. She's the most talented person in this match with the most upside. She's very young, and that is the type of person you want chasing a championship.
And people like to hate her. And so if you can get the briefcase on her and she gets a cheap win over like Bailey or something like that, I mean, that's huge.
Well, the thing is, like, people hate her, but it's like people don't like Chelsea Green either. But it's a different thing.
But I don't get the same sense of heat from Chelsea Green. I mean,
oh no, it's like they hate her because they kind of know they're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's almost like if the sign went up, like boo, like oh yeah, we know we're supposed to boo this person. Like Tiffany Stratton, they're like, oh, you're so full of yourself, I can't fracking stand you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, I think Tiffany Stratton goes over in this one. And fairly clean. Like I can't think of what the interference would be here. I mean, maybe Piper Niven?
No, I don't think you do interference on this one. That would be just
that
would be useless. There's really no. I mean, I'm not clued into the stories for all 6 women here, but it just doesn't feel like an interference play, makes sense here.
Yeah, the only thing I think of is like, you have damage control for Io Sky. Chelsea Green has been recently associated with Piper Niven. You have Zoe Stark, who has, Shayna Baszler. You have Naomi, who's hasn't been for a while, but she was associated at one time with Bianca and Jade. So I mean, everybody kind of, except for really like, and I thought Lyra Valkyria was part of the tag champs, but I'm wrong. And Tiffy, basically they're the two without really alliances. But again, I hope there's not interference in this. You've already got 6 people in it. Like just let them fracking be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Tiffy time, I think, is the way to go. And then I think what I think we can all agree is going to be our main event, which actually, hang on a second here. We've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 5. It is a Paul Levesque era pay-per-view because we only have 5 matches.
The King Kong Bundy 5 count.
Which, I mean, at first, I got to say, I was very much in opposition to this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a formula. But then when you think about it, the way that these matches are given space to breathe and the time to develop and all that, I gotta say, Triple H, you know this better than I do. You truly are the game. It really does make these PLEs something special that you're going to see. So now we have the World Heavyweight Championship match.
It's all about the game and how you play it.
It is.
It's all about control and if you can take it.
Damn it, I was going to try and get But you didn't say it as, you didn't like sing it as Lemmy, so that doesn't count.
It's all about the game. Sorry.
It's all about the game and how you play. Oh my gosh, Lemmy's.
Actually, that's really good. That's pretty good, my friend.
I keep trying to talk the guys in the band into doing a song by
do Ace of Spades.
Well,
get the Ace of Spades.
If I could play the fracking song, yes.
Oh yeah.
Damage Case is much more doable for me because it's basically a blues just played really friggin' loud. So anyways, World Heavyweight Championship match is Damian Priest, the defending El Campeon, defending against Seth freaking Rollins. The stipulation here, if Priest loses, he leaves Judgment Day. If Rollins loses, he can't challenge the title for as long as Priest holds it. I got to give him credit here. Like, this is a very interesting stipulation. It's not something you normally see. And it kind of does, like, it makes you think twice about whatever predictions you're making. Because I've gone back and forth on this one about 8 times just today. So here's the thing, and I'm not even gonna read my thought about this because here's my thing. What I would love to see. God knows this probably will not happen because I'm an idiot. Drew McIntyre wins Money in the Bank earlier in the night. He immediately cashes in during this match. And we get CM Punk interference that costs him. So he essentially shoots his wad night that he gets it, driving him further insane.
I like that.
Because I mean, really, what else could make him lose it more? You know, than like I got Money in the Bank, I'm gonna do it this time, and it's like it would be so poetic because Priest cashed in on him, and he cashes in on Priest, and then here comes Punk, and then McIntyre further goes down the chute of just insanity.
Yep.
And I think Priest retains here because otherwise, I mean, Rollins doesn't necessarily need the title. Priest definitely needs a title more. And having him retain here, it doesn't hurt anybody because then Rollins could always challenge at SummerSlam if he wants. Because look at all the shenanigans that happened here, and then you get your McIntyre Punk match as well because those two need to settle this before you get into anything. I mean, it makes so much sense.
It does.
It probably won't happen that way. But your thoughts, sir?
Hearing you talk through that is an intriguing concept, and I think fits very well into the narrative of building to a McIntyre Punk SummerSlam grudge match. And coming into this, I hadn't really thought through McIntyre really winning, but hearing you say that, like, Priest retains, because inevitably he's got to be in the Judgment Day when Rhea Ripley comes back, because there's going to be because here's my thought process. It's the other part of it, which is, okay, let's say Rollins beats Priest, right, and he's out of Judgment Day. What does Priest do at that point? I mean, he's kind of like on an island with no story really. And if Rhea Ripley, or when Rhea Ripley comes back, it doesn't matter because he's out of the group. So it's like it doesn't make sense for him to get kicked out at this point, because there's a payoff coming when Ripley comes back and she starts reckoning with the entire group on all the shenanigans that have gone on. Like Priest has gone off the deep end with his authoritarianism. We got Dom who's dealing with what's her name, Liv Morgan, who is her like sworn enemy at this point, and so that's going to be a whole thing. You got Finn Balor, who's challenging his leadership and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of meat on the bone there from a story perspective. So it feels like he's going to retain, but have a great match with Seth. But what I really like is the idea of McIntyre trying to take advantage, and in some ways try to bring some comeuppance to Priest, who did that to McIntyre. Just dessert sort of situation. But if you have Punk come in and ruin that opportunity once again, like he did in Scotland, like I really enjoy like where you're going with this, because now it's yet another thing that's pushing McIntyre over the edge. Like, Punk is the thorn in McIntyre's side that will not go away, and he now has to face him in a match.
He's Loki
at SummerSlam. What's that?
Essentially, because at first you thought like McIntyre was Loki.
Yes.
Because he's kind of the agent of chaos. Now Punk is, which totally fits him, by the way.
Punk has said, I think it was in the post the press conference after the last event, basically made the declaration, like, as long as I am in this company and have breath, Drew McIntyre will never hold the World Heavyweight Championship again. And I love the fact that he, like, that to me is more interesting than having some killer like Braun Breaker like run over someone. Like, having a person whose sole purpose is to prevent another person from achieving their goal is such a more compelling story to watch and how it drives them slowly insane. I mean, that's the Austin Bret Hart story right there. Austin was relentless on Hart, and that's what led to the double turn at WrestleMania, because Hart finally snapped. And he was totally justified in snapping, but nobody cared because they loved Austin too much. Yeah. And I think this is another scenario where, you know, McIntyre is probably justified in feeling the way he feels, but Punk is just there every step of the way to thwart him, to the point where it's like, fine, I want you in a ring now. I'm sick and tired of this. I want to end you. Sort of thing.
Yeah, no.
So I agree with you.
I love how I've talked you around to that.
We've talked each other, and I mean, thank goodness we don't have any like bourbon on the line here, because we're basically actually this would come down to the star rate. Like, this isn't going to come down to the quality of the match rating. Is what this would come down.
Let's face it, it would be a coin flip.
Yeah, probably. And you just change your rating. So.
Oh my gosh.
See, I'm doing a Punk to your McIntyre.
Damn! Shut up, Wesley.
Well, that's fair.
Anyways,
so we're both going Damian Priest with a McIntyre cash in with a Punk interference, and Priest walks out as El Campeón once again.
All right, hang on a second.
You got to stretch those legs. You got to work out your bum shoulder. What's going on there?
This is such a specific set of circumstances. I feel like there needs to be a toast for this one.
Oh, okay.
Because,
well, hold up, sir. Let me pour a little myself.
Because my goodness, like that is like, oh, and this and this and this and this and this and this. Like, how do we get here? How did this happen?
We are gentlemen of industry who have.
We're morons. Let's face it.
Intelligence and testicular fortitude to see where the booking is going.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are idiots.
Salud.
All right. Well, so there you have it, folks. 2024 Money in the Bank, as predicted by two idiots. Hey, it's as good as a guess as you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so what have we got for and another thing? This is a portion of our show, if you're just new to tuning in here. This is a kind of the thing where after espousing
on
moronic ideas for a couple hours, we like to try and pass on a little positivity and something that we recommend. What do you got for and another thing this time, sir?
Not a terribly new thing, but something that I've kind of rediscovered in just a fit of looking for some content to watch. And yes, I haven't finished Star Wars Rebels yet. I still need to do that. But I did, over the course of the weekend, tap back into WWE on the WWE Network on Peacock.
Oh, hang on a second here, sir. I think we might have...
Oh, do we have some entrance music for Kaylin here? Come on.
We don't, because she moved too quick. You need to move a little slower and announce yourself so I can bring some music into this.
I'm like a little roach.
You're like a little roach? Oh, my God.
Did she call herself a little roach? Is that what I heard?
Did you just call yourself a little roach?
Yes.
Okay, we need to have a conversation tomorrow about self-confidence.
I'd like to get her perspective on how the driving is going. Can you ask her?
Tim would like to know how the driving is going.
Good.
Okay.
No, it's going very good. She is doing very well. You are.
Nice. That one time Mom was in the car, that was the worst.
You know what? We're discounting that. That was 10 minutes out of like the last 3 hours that we've done.
Hey, tell her if she's not making Mama white knuckle her way through a ride, she isn't doing it right. So
Tim says if you're not making Mom a white knuckle through a ride, you're not doing your job.
I agree with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. No,
She has spoken.
You're doing very well driving.
Nice.
And nice. You've improved every single time that we've driven. I'm feeling great about it. I wouldn't want you to take the car off by yourself now, but I'm feeling, like I'm not terrified for my life.
I'm hearing Beamers in the future for her.
No, the Beamer is not in the future for her. I'm telling you right now. Yes. So a Beamer is a BMW.
Why?
It starts with B, and it's a BM, so Beamer.
Where'd W go?
I have no idea.
No one wants the W. We throw it out.
No one wants the W.
Does she have a Star Wars limerick for us?
Do you have any kind of a joke or anything to share with folks?
You sent me that reel, and I need to look at it. I'm sorry.
There was a great reel. Did I send it to you? The Star Wars dad jokes.
Oh, I'm not caught up on the reels you have.
Yeah,
sent me,
you've
so
had a hell of a
kind
week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Any thoughts? Any kind of quotes? You know what? Actually, this is the time when Tim and I are recommending things for our listeners / viewers to check out. Do you have a book, a movie, song, anything? Oh boy, wait, hang on a second. She's going to the bookshelf, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my goodness.
She's
The way she was moving reminded me of something from a horror movie. She was very
very Nikki Cross.
Yes, there it is. Oh my God, you've got a member of the Wyatt Six in your presence.
Sister Abigail is here.
Sweet Moses.
Hang on a second.
There she goes again.
And now she's
This is very
reconsidering.
oh, the hood came off. Good Lord.
What do we got? Oh, so this is
What'd
the
you pick out?
recommendation. Hang on a second. Let me just make sure I can get this.
Oh, very nice.
Have you read this? You've already read through this?
I read through the first couple chapters.
Very nice.
Hang on, say that again.
I read through the first couple chapters only.
Okay. So Kaylin is a voracious reader. So she
Okay, to be fair though, as a person that reads a lot of books, and if you don't start off a book good, I'm sorry, you don't really make it through that much before I have to take a.
So wait a minute. Is this you only read a couple chapters? Does this mean this book is a stinker or what's going on here?
The book is good. The first couple chapters are good. Therefore, I'm kind of like making a good guess.
Okay, so it's just like you give us a preview.
Yes, pretty much.
I just want to establish that.
Just make sure.
Okay. Well, thank
As
you
a
for that
teaser
recommendation.
for you both
And then
in
back to you on how it fully is.
Yeah, but you've got like 5 other books you're reading in before that, right? Yeah.
I read a book for a series that's coming out. I have a book for library club. I have a book for a friend that I'm reading. I have a book that I got that I just want to read in between those other 3 books. And then I have to read this one.
So it's basically like the mound scene in Bull Durham. We got a lot of stuff going on here.
We do. I will share with you both that if you get caught up on Acolyte through episode 5, there is an element in episode 5 that appears that is from the Thrawn books.
Okay, so why do I feel like a UN translator here? Like I need to get.
I don't know.
I got to get her own set of headphones for
You
this.
do.
My
You
God.
do. You got to have like a line 2 going where you
I'm
have
like
some phone-
Squanto here. I'm translating for the pilgrims. So Tim says that if we make it through episode 5, which we need to catch up on, of Acolyte, there is a part of that leads back to what?
No, it doesn't lead back to. There is something from the Thrawn books.
Oh,
that
it
makes an
references.
appearance.
It references the Thrawn books, which you
It
haven't
doesn't reference
read.
the Thrawn books. Some
To read them, but unfortunately, I have like 5 other books that I'm currently reading.
Actually sitting right over there. Yes. All right, you can forget the DNA test. She's my daughter. Ooh, books. What's that? Yeah, those right there. Yeah.
Do you
those
tell her
two.
about the bookstore I took you to in the rain?
I'll get to them in the day.
Yeah, I'll someday I'll have to tell you the story of the bookstore. Oh, I told you about the bookstore that Tim took me to, right?
You tell me way too many stories, and I have short. Do you really think I'm gonna remember that?
Ah, yes, Uncle Todd, spinner of yarns.
She's not wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
She's not
totally not wrong.
Not at all.
All right. So, anyways, we have to tie this thing up here. Any further thoughts? Any words of wisdom to pass on to our viewers / listeners?
Sleep. It's important.
You know what? I'll get behind that one.
I can't argue with it. You can't.
She nailed that one.
Sleep.
All right. You going to bed? Yep. Okay. All right. Good night. Love you.
Reorganizing this, it's in alphabetical order now, and when it gets to a certain author, it's by order of series. So it's like, see, like you got the Percy Jackson. It's like the earliest book.
What I want to know is there a Dewey Decimal System that's been implemented here because it sounds like
Oh my
there
gosh. So my daughter, I am so proud of you just on a daily basis, but right now it's like it's peaking. It's amazing. You c- It's like high fidelity. Like now you're going to do it what in biographical order, like the order that you got them in throughout your life. Oh boy. Okay. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for Kaylin's Corner. Good night. Love you. Anyways, you were saying something, sir. I have no idea.
I don't
where we
know
left
at this
off.
point. I just know Uncle Todd has a Dewey Decimal System going on in that office. There's
So if you look over here, like we got that bookshelf. There's a
Nice.
bookshelf over here, and we are still woefully shy
Yes.
on storage options. It's
Yep.
And then I've got a vinyl shelf over here that I have a literal like milk crate of records off to the side because I don't have enough space.
Nice.
I've got problems. I've got problems
do.
and concerns. Anyways,
You do.
you were saying, sir, I think it's your turn.
So on the Peacock, under the WWE section, there is some content they produce, which goes back several years, but I'm recently reconnecting with called WWE Table for 3, or in this case, the specific episode Table for 5.
These are excellent. Yeah.
Yes, where they get superstars together who have kind of a thread that connects them all, and they kind of discuss the business and elements from their particular runs in the company. Some of it is recent or current stars, some of it is past stars,
And they do it like over a meal.
They do it over a meal, yeah. So they're sitting in some sort of eating area where they sitting around a table breaking bread and talking about just their respective stories in the business. Very cool. A lot of really good stories being told. The one I recently watched, which I would highly recommend, is with The Undertaker and his BSK crew. So we're talking about Charles Wright, the Godfather. We're talking about Rikishi. We're talking about Henry O. Godwin. We're talking about Midian, who was part of the Henry O. Godwin duo there. Who actually comes in about like 20 minutes late.
Midian was one of the Godwins?
Yes.
I had no friggin' idea.
He and Henry O. Godwin, I don't know if you remember, but there was kind of like this Southern gentleman that came in. It was like almost like the Colonel, and, he kind of introduced them as Southern Justice.
Yeah. Well, one. So
and then one of the guys became Midian.
Okay.
Who was part of the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness.
Were they also the Harris twins, or was that totally different people?
That was totally different.
Okay.
Those are two different guys. Yeah.
That's why I'm confused.
So
among other many reasons.
It was really funny. Like Midian comes in about 20 minutes through, and they're just like giving him the hardest time. They're playing like dominoes, and he's like, "Oh, look who decides to show up," and it was really funny. But no, just great stories.
Which you kind of wonder if that's a work or not.
What, the dominoes or the?
Well, no, just the fact that he came in late. Like, they were like, you know what, this would be really funny.
Yeah.
Because that kind of sounds like Midian was that because he was the fake Mankind.
Yes.
And like he was the guy who seemed like he'd be up for most anything.
Yeah.
Like, hey, eat this.
Undertaker tells a great story, by the way, when he arrives and sits down, of a time when he was going to have him when Midian rode one of the Undertaker's motorcycles, which had like some pretty high like chopper bars, and just completely like he's basically ready to put this on eBay to sell, and he basically just like completely destroys the bike inadvertently through just not knowing how to ride a bike. And they tell the story, and there comes a point where he's just like, and Undertaker and Mark Calloway is just so funny telling the story. He's like, yeah, he does this, and he kind of looks at me, and I'm just like staring daggers through him, and he's like, should I pack my things? Which it's like, I should pack my things and go.
Is one of those deals where like, because Yokozuna was part of that crew.
Yes, yeah, like Rikishi's kind of representing Yoko there, but he was part of that crew too. Yeah.
But it really was not like main eventers. Like, and we've talked about, Godfather, Charles Wright, and how he kind of had like that aura during the Attitude Era, but also went through a lot of really bad gimmicks and was known as a heat black hole, just from where all of your charisma would just disappear.
Yes.
But it was so great that these are the dudes that Taker liked to hang with.
Yep.
And that it really seems like, and maybe there is
and it was a brotherhood. And they say that several times. They were a brotherhood. Like there was no drama between them at all. Like they just got along. They enjoyed being on the road together. And,
well, except for that time that Charles Wright kept on trying to give Taker his watch, and they would fight about it.
Well, there was also some funny stories about country music and playing it for way too long, and there was actually a couple of really good pallbearer stories too, where Undertaker would purposely do things to I guess pallbearer was driving, and he would do things purposely to just tick him off. Like he told this one story about there was this Chinese restaurant that they loved in Pittsburgh, and pallbearer was like so looking forward to it. And apparently, like one of the other guys recommended like going to another place, and Undertaker's like, "Yeah, let's go there." And he's just like, and pallbearer the entire way we're driving to the next venue is just like, he just tells this great story. Like he just kept trying to find ways to like just tick him off. It was so funny.
All right, hang on. I've now got to add the Taker pallbearer.
Oh yes,
P rib. And folks will understand that.
I was wondering if he was going to tell that story in that episode, but he doesn't. So
I've seen a couple of different episodes of this, and the one I saw, I can't remember who else was in it, but Rhea Ripley was in it, and it was kind of funny because Rhea, or what's her, I think her real name is Demi or something like that, was very polite, and it was just sort of like it was very out of place because you could kind of. And this is the thing I like about Rhea Ripley. As a character, but also as a person and as a wrestler, and the whole business aspect of it, like she really seems like a bit of a geek and a dork.
Yeah.
Who then because she's like, oh, I'm Rhea Bloody Ripley, I can then like put on this character and be this other person. But like when you just meet, like when she's hanging out, she's kind of just a dork. And I'm like, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
Especially because half the world is like, oh my God, like thirsting over her. Which just is this whole other aspect of it where it's like, it's just funny because she's just kind of a dork. And she's like, hey, I know I can mess with these people. That's great. But no, that is a great series.
And just for the record, BSK is Bone Street Crew is what they were called. Bone Street Crew. So.
Which I believe Bone refers to
Undertaker.
Dominoes, right? Well, I thought
he says
Dominoes are bones, right? Isn't that like the slang?
They are, but the way Calloway describes it, he came up with Bone Street because of his character associated with the dead. So he's just like Bone Street, and then they threw Crew into it, and then I think Yoko decided to turn the C into a K to kind of give it put a little stank on it, I guess.
And who's going to argue with Yoko, really?
And by the way, the five of them, or the four of them, I should say, only was much in the bottle when Midian showed up, but put away an entire bottle of Jack on the spot. It was pretty incredible. Like,
well, I mean,
good 4 to 5 shots were had by all men in the room. So
Taker and Stone Cold. I mean, had they not been recording a podcast when Stone Cold brought out the bottle, it probably would have finished that sumbitch. I mean,
absolutely. So highly would recommend WWE Table for 3 on the Peacock. Do check it out. It is you will not be disappointed by what you see here and get to take in. So do check it out.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
So, and I know we're going into OT here because we're probably heading over 2 hours here.
We are.
If you could have, and this is sort of like the Mount Rushmore discussion, if you could have your dream table of 3. And we're going to keep it to 3. We're not expanding it. You got 3.
Yep.
Who would they be? Dead or alive? Doesn't matter the promotion. As long as they at some point worked for WWE, which I mean, then also drags in all the WCW, ECW guys. Who are the 3 people you'd love to have a conversation with?
I mean, honestly, and it pains me to leave certain people out, but I think it would have to be Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Mark Calloway.
That would be interesting because both
I mean, all three of them
they
had that run of
WrestleMania.
they were all involved in that run of matches for like 5-6 years, and we're kind of the end of the era when it finally ended with Triple H. So I just think it'd be interested to hear their perspective on, especially, Shawn and Taker coming up in the late 80s. I mean, they, when you think about it, like they started in the late 80s when the business was still, I mean, it had definitely been revolutionized by that point, but it was still kind of raw. It was still kind of, there was still the independence, and Shawn came up through the territories as well as Taker did. And I'd just be curious, like, what they think now about the business and how young talent come up, because of the fact that there really isn't an independent system anymore. It is really NXT. There's some overseas promotions, in Japan and
dude, that'd have to be like a 2-3 episode, 2-3 hour episode, because I mean you're dealing with a guy who is like the head honcho, the guy who is like in charge of developmental, and then like the dude who was the judge, jury, and executioner. And who is like one of the people who is like, when you talk about protecting the business, the dude who didn't give interviews. For how many years?
If you gave me like one more round to do it with, like another 3, it would definitely be like Hart, Punk, and God, who would probably Foley. No, I'm sorry. Hart, Punk, and Austin. Hart, Punk, and Austin is who I'd go with for another 3.
No, that'd be, as far as talkers, and also like love for the business, and also like kind of that like still a bit of kayfabe. Like old school. Yes. For me, I approach it from a different point of view. Heyman, Heenan, Monsoon.
That is a murderer's row right there, talkers. Oh my God, that is phenomenal. Well done, sir.
Because Monsoon could just say like, "Would you just stop?"
Oh my God, just to watch him and Heenan go at it. You know what I mean? Like what a treat that would be. What a treat.
Did I have any idea when I used to watch like primetime wrestling and all that, and seeing those two, to know like what a treasure that would be now?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
The
fact that like they didn't plan anything out. They just be like, all right, we get there and we kind of do this and that.
Primetime wrestling was such a, I don't mean to say throwaway show, but it was just a show that I would watch on Monday nights with my dad. That was just a bonding thing that we did. And I can't say 100% that I would follow like all of it, the entire, I mean, it was 2 hours. I was usually goofing off doing something else.
Playing with your Legos.
Probably. But to your point, when you think back to it, like what a, and in some ways it's sad how it's kind of changed a lot. Like you don't have shows like that just showcase. I mean, it doesn't make sense now because of the media and the way things are now, but what a great idea to just showcase like house show matches and just off the beaten path matches that you wouldn't normally see on a show like that.
Yes.
With Monsoon and Heenan hosting and their goofiness that they would do in between the matches. It was such a classic show.
Yeah, you know what? It is one of those things that it could be totally brought back, but you would have to have the right people. And honestly, you would have to you'd have to find a way, maybe a year from now, give Heyman a studio gig. He could kill it with that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's him and anybody. Like, and you know what? Bring back anybody he wants to from ECW. Bring back whoever. It would work. Yep. My second, the top 3 managers of all time. Heyman, Heenan, Cornette.
Oh, good Lord.
That's a 4-hour show there, ladies and gentlemen. 4 hours, because Cornette would talk for 2. Actually, no, 5. because Heyman would talk for
have
two,
to employ,
and then Heenan would talk for one, and he'd kill both of them.
You'd have to employ the recent debate format and kill kill Cornette's mic at some point. You know what I mean? You'd have to just let the others talk, because Cornette would just keep going.
I would love to hear Cornette and Heyman just talk over each other.
Yeah.
And then Heenan just jump in with one line and just slay both of them, and they would both love it.
Yep.
They would both just be like, "Fair enough, Bobby.
Yep.
You got us."
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Phenomenal.
Because I mean, are there three better talkers ever? Ever?
I don't think so.
I'm actually ashamed that wasn't my top three.
Well, no, I mean, but Monsoon, I mean,
Monsoon it's
you've
a
got to work
callback.
Monsoon in there.
Yes.
I mean, to some degree, Heenan is Heenan, but Heenan is also not Heenan without Monsoon.
I mean, yes and no, because
they are such a great straight.
Well, yeah,
how,
you
how's it work, straight comedy sort of thing?
Well, yeah, you have straight
Heenan,
man,
yeah, you know what I'm saying. Heenan is the goof,
mm-hmm.
and Monsoon is the straight man, and their interplay was just so organic and
mm-hmm.
so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the disdain that Monsoon would show Heenan on the show was just phenomenal. He's just
here's the thing that I would love to see, and the reason why I kind of put that one first is because I think Gorilla Monsoon is such an interesting character.
Yeah,
just not his on-screen character, but just such an interesting individual.
Yeah.
And I think he would snap into that character, but I also want to hear more about Gorilla Monsoon, the dude who carried around 10 grand in his pocket at all times because he might want to buy something. I want to know more about that guy.
Yeah.
Give me the behind the scenes on that. And yeah, go ahead and throw the the characters in, but I want to know more about him and Heenan. And I would love to know because I think honestly Heyman would probably sit there and just the closest analogy I could come to, and here's a bonus for you folks.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, and I was listening to this album this morning. Go ahead and find on whatever streaming service you use, or in the old school, go to a record store. Please, actually go to a record store, support them, and find the Albert Collins Stevie Ray Vaughan In Session album. It's a fascinating archival diamond because it is literally seeing two of the greatest guitarists of all times meeting on neutral turf. So they were playing on a radio show in Canada. Steve Ray Vaughan, Albert King, both of them showed up. They were playing with a house band. So it was a band that neither one of them played with on the regular. And in fact, if you listen to the way that they play Pride and Joy, it's actually the opposite of how Steve Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble played it. Because, oh crap, I always get the names of the guys in Double Trouble wrong, and I feel horrible because they're monster players. But the bass player played it with this ascending bass line, and the guy in the recording plays it with a kind of a normal blues descending walking bass line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. My bad. On the studio version, it's descending and boom ba-doom ba-doom ba-doom. Yeah, so yeah, ascending for the studio guy. But it's one of those moments where you hear Stevie Ray Vaughan, who one of the greatest guitar players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
The most reserved performance you've ever heard from him, because Albert King was his mentor, his idol, and he did not want to show him up. And that's how I feel Heyman would be if he was sitting there with Heenan. I feel like he would be like, I just want to listen to these two guys go at it and tell stories and stuff. And I'll interject, but I'm always going to pull back a little bit because I'm like, I don't want to step on any toes. These guys are the thing. That's how I feel like Heyman would be with those guys, because that's how Stevie Ray Vaughan was with that album. There was a song where on Pride and Joy, they played Pride and Joy. Albert King totally misses the ending. He's not paying attention to when this ending is coming, and he blows it. The next song, Steve Ray Vaughan blows the ending, and as long as I live, I will believe that he blew the ending on purpose.
Yeah.
Because Albert blew the last one. He's like, all right, we're even up now.
That's
and I feel like that's what Heyman would be like with Heenan, because I mean, you can't, and kind of with Cornette too. Like it would be the same thing. Like just let you two go crazy, whatever. You know, I'm still special counsel advocate, blah 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 blah. Anyways, yeah, that'd be great. Oh my gosh, any of those variations, sweet mama.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. We are getting really long in the tooth. Let me go with mine. Ladies and gentlemen, The Gentleman. Not the series on Netflix, but the movie. I have not seen the series. It's not like I'm trying to down that. I've just watched the movie several times. And oh my goodness, is this... It is peak Guy Ritchie. Like it feels like every movie that he has done since his first movie, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is okay, I can't say every movie because I didn't see the one he did with Madonna, and there's a couple I'm sure I've missed. But to me, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, and then the two Sherlock Holmes movies done are masterclasses in character creation and in kinetic directing that informs you about the character, moves the story along, and does things in such a way that like you're compelled to want to see how the fracking thing ends. Even if you don't like a character, you're like, I just got to see how the friggin' thing ends. The Gentleman to me is like almost like the thesis statement of that school of filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's friggin' amazing, and I've seen it a couple times now. I rewatched it the other night because I don't know, I'm just that guy. The summary reads thusly: an American expat, which would be Matthew McConaughey, tries to sell off his highly profitable marijuana empire in London, triggering plots, schemes, bribery, and blackmail in an attempt to steal his domain out from under him. The top line stars in this are Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, and Michelle Dockery, of course, also featuring. Let me make sure I get this right. We have Jeremy Strong. We have Colin Farrell.
It's a good
Tom.
lineup.
Oh my God, Tom Wu, Hugh Grant playing probably my favorite Hugh Grant character ever. Like a slimy, just dirty, like paparazzi-ish kind of journalist. Oh my gosh, he's so fun to just hate, but also like it's that sort of thing where almost like Austin at the beginning of his career, where you're like, I dislike him, but I kind of like him, that sort of thing. Such a great flick, and it moves so quick, and it has twists and turns, and it's one of those things where you wonder kind of how the whole thing is going to end up. Even watching it for like the fourth or fifth time, I was still in that moment of like, is this how it's going to turn out how I thought it was? Did I miss something? Like there's enough in there that leaves you in doubt.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Nice.
So definitely check that out. The Gentleman, the movie. There is a series on Netflix. I have not seen the series. I have no idea if it's good or not. The movie is damn good. So definitely check that out.
Very cool. We'll have to.
And it sets the unofficial record, I think, for the use of the C word. It almost seems like
always something to attain.
Well, there's a much different tonality to that word in the UK than there is in America. So it is bandied about quite frequently, let's just say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening thus far. We are now past the 2-hour mark. So if you've stuck around this long, by God, have a drink on us. And thank you for being part of the Free Range Idiocy congregation. If you're wondering what the hell that is, you're not alone. There's not a whole lot of people who are part of the Free Range Idiocy congregation. You can change that by joining today. We like to think of it as the nicer cult.
We ain't no Wyatt Six, I'll tell you that much.
I mean, we can aspire. How do you feel about a mask? Or a sledgehammer?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Anyways, if you'd like to join the Free Range Idiocy congregation, what you can do is go to freerangeidiocy.com. You can find all of our episodes there. Those are audio only. You can download them one at a time and listen to them to your heart's content, or you can subscribe there through the Podbean app. You can also find us on podcast purveyors of your choice. That'll be Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on whatever the frack Amazon calls its podcast service. Just say, Alexa, please play this for me. And by the way, tell the FBI exactly what I've done today. You can. We're also on Google. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Google Podcast is dead.
Wah, 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 wah. Oh, good Lord. Moment of silence.
All right, we're going to pour one. No, I'm sorry. This is too expensive. But if you've got a podcast purveyor that you happen to enjoy, search for us. Free Range Idiocy will be there. You can also find us on the YouTubes in full, glorious HD color. Not 4K. Don't be concerned. You don't have to worry about seeing every single detail of us. In fact, you might want to down to that to 240 or something. Just saying, 8-bit is how we look best. But yeah, you can find us on the social medias. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on the YouTubes, all at Tumble. I'm talking about my band. Sorry. Free Range Idiocy. I've got way too many things to pimp and purvey here. Sorry. But if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, offers of bribery, let's be honest, folks. Can we get real? Can we get real hard? It's like the $1 Million Man said. Every man's got his price. And let's be honest. Look at us. Look at me. Look at the man called to him. We're cheap. We're cheap.
Not so cheap that we can drink bourbon, but we're cheap.
I mean, we're cheap. If you got a bribe, we're not above it. So send those all to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to stop flapping my gums and turn this over to the least idiotic portion of the show, which ain't saying much, but it's saying something. But not before I ask the second most important question in all of human history. The first, of course, being brought to us by the Holy Scriptures of Funk and Soul from Tower of Power. What is hip? The second being, what in the high holy hell did we learn this episode, sir?
We have learned the following. We have learned that Feige can say a little and not make much out of it. We have learned that Doctor Strange jobbing out Tony just doesn't amount to a whole lot of sense. And we have also learned that there is a anniversary, either 161st or 162nd. We're not quite sure because Uncle Todd, well, he struggles with the maths a little bit. But do check out the 20th Maine at the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Their contributions to that victory.
Did you say check out the 20th Maine?
Well, I assume we're going to have a link in the show notes to the article that we were talking about.
Okay, I wasn't going to that kind of link. Okay,
I wasn't going for that at all, but,
I wasn't either, but, you seem to drag it in that direction.
Anyways, we've also learned that when there's no bourbon on the line, Uncle Todd and the man they call Tim are pretty much right in sync when it comes to making calls on the wrestling pay-per-view matches. We are all aligned and think Money in the Bank 2024 is going to be yet another entertaining entry for that event.
For the Paul Levesque era.
In the Play era. But nonetheless, as Uncle Todd... Oh, and one other thing we've learned, that when the man they call Tim, when he's busy, when he's down and out, when he doesn't have time to put the structure around the show, Uncle Todd jumps right in and contributes like a champ, and we do appreciate that. All that being said, we thank you for the listenership and do thank you for putting up with us for the 2 hours and probably somewhere around 15 minutes that this will get down to. We have also learned, by the way, Kaylin from Kaylin's Corner, voracious reader. She's going to be reading Ahsoka, be reading that Thrawn trilogy, and coming up to speed on what that little tidbit from the Acolyte is. That was kind of a part of that show from the books. So, with all that being said, be healthy, be safe, be kind, be good to one another. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The range is closed. Until next time, we wrap up 169 right now.
Nice.
See ya.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
Damn!
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
I think you've had about enough.
Well, I think you're wrong, you increasingly attractive-looking woman. You know, you're really pretty.
Oh, stop.
No, I'm serious. You could be in magazines. You could. And not just like Jugs or Creamsicle. Call me? She won't call.
So say we all. So say we all.
Give me a little outro music. No. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Glorious. No, I won't give in. I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend. I
will defend. There it is. Boom. Love those drums. Love that bass.
So, is there a better like rock song with groove than Cult of Personality?
I don't think so. This is top notch right here, my friend. Oh. I can only imagine what it feels like to walk into this song in a big arena with people going absolutely ballistic for you. That's just. Ugh.
I can't imagine that feeling.
Goosebumps.
I mean, like walking in that. Can you imagine like you walked into your workplace every morning and you got to choose like your entrance music?
Well, I get in before everyone else, so no one would be there to hear it.
All the more reason to do it. All the more reason for you to do it, sir.
Now get the hell out of here!